welcome. Whoa. Take two. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome. Very good to see you guys. Interesting show here tonight. Young America's Foundation. A pretty good conservative think tank for students and younger people had Michael Knowles doing a little bit of a college tour. And he's giving this speech and then, taking questions. And of course, we love to see the questions from college kids. But this one at Yale was particularly interesting, just in the way that it was delivered. And actually, wait a minute. Did I have that backwards? Oh no, I have it backwards. So the one at Pitt is better, and the stream or the questions from Yale are going to be better. So we'll do that in reverse order. Let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
It's good to be back, It's always good to be here with YAF. A real honor to be part of the William F. Buckley Jr. lecture series. I want to thank the UPitt College Republicans for the invitation here tonight. And I would like to thank the Steel City Anti-Fascist League for not blowing me up on my way into the building today.
Well, they tried. Shout out to Gabriel. Welcome to the party. We also got Jaden. Very, very good to see you guys. Welcome.
They did threaten it. I have the threat right here. This was... I don't know how many of you follow the Steel City Anti-Fascist League on Instagram. I think there were a few. There were actually five others. How many Antifa groups are there in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But it was a nice... It's not a terrible picture of me. I felt they could have picked a better one. I'm all smiley. And then they put arrows through my head. So... Oh, dear. They've not yet done that in real life. Last time I was here, they burned me in effigy. But, For those of you who don't know the lore, who weren't here, I think it was, 2 years ago, almost to the day, last time I was here, these left-wing protesters welcomed me by setting the street on fire and then burning me in effigy and then throwing smoke bombs at the attendees while they were waiting in line and then throwing an explosive at the building when I was supposed to walk on stage.
Sounds like leftists.
Now, happily, the couple that carried out that attack was a husband and wife team of leftist terrorists. They were arrested. Unfortunately, they were offered a sweetheart deal. The woman had a slap on the wrist, probation, and some community service. The man, happily, though, is rotting in federal prison right now for 5 years. That's a good thing. That's good. Society will be spared having to deal with at least that one animal for 5 years. I'll take it. But of course, both he and his wife should be locked away for much, much longer. Throwing an explosive at people is attempted murder. Attempted murder merits up to 20 years in prison, according
if you're on the right.
To federal law. 18 U.S. Code, Section 1113, if any federal prosecutors want to bring it up again and are watching this stream. One hopes that with the new leadership at the DOJ, left-wing terrorists will be treated with less leniency. But even still, a federal conviction and 5 years in prison is something. It's enough to send a message to the entire American left. The message comes down to two words: you lost. You lost.
It's a new world now, baby. A lot of the stuff that you're very easily able to get away with under Joe Biden, who didn't really know what was going on, not anymore. Trump is back. Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome. Very good to see you, sir.
2 years after you tried to blow us up, I am back here and you are in prison. 2 years after you tried to blow up our whole political system by attempting to disqualify, imprison, and also murder President Trump, Trump is back in the White House and leftists are completely out of power. Loser! Conservatives right now control all three branches of government. Increasingly, we control the bureaucracy if Elon Musk has his way. We're even beginning to exert some control over the media after everyone tuned out the left-wing networks. I keep waiting for that final moment when Maddow's numbers go to 0 on MSNBC and I can finally take her spot.
Just throw on the glasses and you're right there.
I don't have my glasses on me, but
There
I think
you
I would look
go.
great, and some viewers wouldn't know that anything had changed.
I mean, a lot could happen with the MSDNC audience that they would have no idea. Like, wait, is that different? It just goes into their eyeballs and into their ears and comes out their mouth. It doesn't ever pass their brain.
The left has lost so thoroughly that even the worst stock market downturn in 40 years has not hurt Trump's approval rating. There is a poll just came out. It's a Daily Mail JL Partners poll, shows that the week that President Trump implemented his tariffs, the week that the stock market took this massive downturn, Trump's approval rating went up by 4 points. That's how much the left has lost. It's
almost like the petty one-day predictions of like, oh, this is going to be bad tomorrow. Okay, what about the next day? What about in a week from now? What about in 6 months from now? What about in 10 years from now? It looks like tomorrow's going to be rainy is not enough to say, well, we've got crops to water.
Is the left responding to the Trump administration's continued popularity?
Same thing they've always done, which is why they will continue to lose.
Why? With more political violence. Just last Thursday, 40 leftists attacked campus conservatives during an event that featured Brandon Tatum.
Shout out to Officer Tatum. And again, this speech was from yesterday live, so we are getting in pretty quick.
Obviously, there were plenty of threats here on us tonight. And for weeks now, we have seen a nationwide campaign of leftists targeting not only conservatives, but anyone who owns an electric car produced by a company that is owned by a guy who sometimes advises President Trump.
How dare you?
The irony of using the Greta Thunberg. How dare you? Because they're burning down the electric vehicles. The soundbite is from her telling people, oh, you must buy EVs. And now they're literally burning them down.
March 20th, 3 people were charged with throwing Molotov cocktails at Tesla dealerships and charging stations around the country. In Oregon, a man shot up a Tesla showroom in the town of Salem. He should not be confused with another Oregon man who shot up a different Tesla showroom in a different town.
Portland gonna Portland. And it just reminds me of the guy from the last stream, the final boss leftist who came up. It was like, well, why are you okay with the police being used to protect things that are being burnt down? Like, yep, that's what they're there for.
Leftists in Seattle set 4 Cybertrucks on fire in early March before another wacko set a Model S on fire a couple of weeks later. When leftists are not shooting up the electric car dealerships or setting them on fire, they are keying them, denting them, and spray painting them with graffiti, usually in the form of a swastika.
Yeah, and the irony there. But then my favorite aspect of that is the fact that we all know that most cars have cameras all over the place. Most places have cameras all over the place. Yet somehow these people don't realize that they're going to get caught on that camera when they're keying the car. Then they get confronted, like, "Hey, we have this video of you doing this." Like, what? No, I don't think that was me. Yeah, it was.
There is something kind of funny that the left, more than anyone, other than maybe Kanye West, the left, it's the only group in the country that is presenting swastikas in public life and then claiming to be the anti-fascist party.
Semantic obfuscation.
And then claiming to be the anti-fascist party. Over just the past month or so, leftists around the world have perpetrated similar acts of violence all over the place. Italy, Germany, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand. These vandals are not just dumb kids either. Just a few days ago, the Washington Post reported that a clean energy nonprofit executive and a former federal employee, this is a 50-year-old woman and a 49-year-old man respectively, were charged with vandalizing 5 Teslas around Capitol Hill.
What must be going on in your life to be really over the age of 15, but in your 50s and doing stuff like this? James said, Trump is the best president we ever had. I'm also a Democrat and voted for Trump. Something stupid is that people say just because I'm a Democrat and I like Trump, they are saying I shouldn't. Well, that's their modus operandi. That's their MO. One of us. One of us.
were charged.
Yeah, 50-year-old and 49. So my apologies to the 49-year-old. I didn't want to age you up too much, but you know, I'll take that hit. I'll take that out.
With vandalizing 5 Teslas around Capitol Hill. I, for one, am not ever inclined to write off vandalism and arson as just another example of, juvenile indiscretion or something. I did plenty of dumb things when I was younger. Never threw a Molotov cocktail. Never had the opportunity, never had the desire. These are not crimes of passion perpetrated by impetuous children with an unfinished prefrontal cortex.
They're perpetrated by impetuous adults with an unfinished prefrontal cortex. Hey!
Perpetrated by impetuous children with an unfinished prefrontal cortex. These are premeditated, consciously conceived acts of terrorism. Adults bought these supplies and planned out these attacks. Antifa lets you know ahead of time when they plan to do you harm, even if they don't succeed, because we have excellent police and security here tonight. And we got a lot of tough guys in the audience. So.
They can't keep us down. Free speech will reign.
But they plan it. They think about it. This is not accidental. It's not just a motion of passion.
They never stop thinking about it. That's the funniest thing, is that they are obsessed with trying to get under your skin. And it's like, bro, I don't even think about you.
Political violence is a feature, not a bug, of the American left. That has been clear for a long time. Just to give you a small sample size in our limited time here this evening, going back, I don't know, let's just go back to 1920. 1920, anarchists blew up a horse-drawn wagon in front of J.P. Morgan in New York.
It'll be anarchy. Shout out to M169. Welcome to the party.
Anarchists blew up a horse-drawn wagon in front of J.P. Morgan in New York. Killed 38 people, injured more than 300 people in a protest of capitalism. This same cabal of anarchists mailed bombs to businessmen, judges, and politicians around the country, including to the home of the U.S. Attorney General. In the 60s and 70s, the left-wing Weather Underground bombed dozens of buildings in the public and private sectors. The Marxist Symbionese Liberation Army conducted politically motivated murders, kidnappings, and bank robberies in the mid-70s.
So if you haven't gathered so far, the theme of this speech is the left is violent. They are violent. And you can absolutely find cases of political violence on the right. But it is not baked into the ideology. It is not baked into the propaganda. And it is not accepted by the mainstream.
Also in the mid-70s, the New World Liberation Front bombed dozens of buildings around San Francisco, targeting major corporations and injuring civilians.
And we're not even not even 8 minutes into this speech. If we'd clipped up what we've seen so far and put it on YouTube, I couldn't even put mid-roll ads on it. And yet we're going way back in history, all the way up to the 70s, and there's still another 50 years after that we haven't talked about.
In the 1990s, eco-anarchists burned down the buildings of businesses that they considered to be insufficiently environmentally friendly. So burning down a building is not exactly environmentally friendly either, so I don't know. They were a little confused. 13 years ago, an LGBT activist walked into the Family Research Council. He intended to shoot up the building, and happily, he wasn't very adept with firearms, and a guard was injured, but a guard managed to stop him.
I would make fun, but I've personally never shot a gun, so.
Before the LGBT activist murdered the entire staff, because the staff of the Family Research Council hold traditional views on sexual morality that statistically everyone is held for all time everywhere.
How dare you?
Oh my goodness, traditional views? Right to hell.
5 years after that, you might recall, now we're getting closer to recent history, a Bernie bro shot up the congressional baseball game. He injured 5 people. He nearly killed Republican Congressman Steve Scalise. In 2020, an Antifa member killed a right-winger in Portland, Oregon. The BLM riots of that same year resulted in well over $1 billion worth of damage. I'm being very conservative in that estimate.
I was going to say, that's a lot more than $1 billion.
Might have been up to $2 billion in damage. And it led to the deaths of dozens of people. Just a couple.
And not to mention the erosion of a social norm that we don't do that.
$2 billion in damage, and it led to the deaths of dozens of people. Just a couple years ago, leftists attacked construction sites in Atlanta with rocks, more Molotov cocktails, more fireworks like they threw at us here, resulting in 20 prosecutions for domestic terrorism. I could continue to list these incidents of left-wing terrorism all night. We do not have this hall long enough for me to get through them.
Facts.
Now, in 2022,
Facts.
a leftist traveled across the country to murder conservative Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, potentially to murder his entire family, and happily he was stopped before he managed to make his way into Kavanaugh's home. He was going to do that to protest the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
And remember that was cheered on by the media and the other lefties.
In other words, this was particularly absurd.
Agreed.
He planned to commit murder to protest the potential reduction of mass murder nationwide in the form of abortion. And he was stopped. In that case, one almost sympathizes with the would-be assassin because he was just following the lead of then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer had already threatened Brett Kavanaugh by name. Chuck Schumer showed up to the Supreme Court as the Senate Majority Leader and said, quote, "I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions." So
again, not just some random person in a crowd. This is the majority leader.
Now, if you're tempted to chalk that up to just heated political rhetoric, if you
know that they wouldn't do the same as we saw with Bloodbath and Dictator on Day One and all that shit.
If you think that Schumer was just implying that Kavanaugh would be thrown out of office or something like that, it would be an electoral whirlwind. Remember that Supreme Court justices have life tenure. They will never face an election. There is basically nothing you can do to remove them from office through a formal procedure, none that are really carried out. The only thing that Chuck Schumer could have possibly been insinuating was the threat of physical, personal violence. There's not time to describe comprehensively the enormous amount of terrorism that leftists have committed throughout American history. And before I'm accused of being one-sided here, I assume we've got some student newspapers, maybe some of the local left-wing newspapers in the room. I'm very fair-minded, okay? I'm perfectly willing to admit that political violence is not exclusively a left-wing problem. There is the occasional right-wing crackpot who harms his perceived enemies for political purposes.
And what do we all, as people who are on the same side, what do we do when we see that?
Oh, hell no.
We say we're not about that because we're not about that. See that difference?
A right-wing crackpot who harms his perceived enemies for political purposes. The most prominent examples, though, when I was trying to think of the examples, the most prominent examples that came to mind, oddly enough, were examples of the government preemptively killing right-wingers for the perceived threat of violence. When you think about the big ones, Waco, Ruby Ridge, but I totally grant.
And then even on a smaller scale, there was the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. It's all from the government.
Occasionally, a right-winger commits political violence. But there are two major differences between left and right-wing political violence in the United States.
Let's see if he says the same thing that I say. That one, that it is accepted by the media, and two, it is accepted by the other voters.
First, the left, as we have seen, simply commits much more of it, much more consistently.
Very true.
Second, though, the left commits political violence with the approval of its most prominent and mainstream leaders.
I told you, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
The same cannot be said of the right. You will not find a Republican in the country who celebrates the Oklahoma City bombing, for instance. Likewise, you will not find a Democrat in the country who would not defend BLM. You might not find a Democrat in the country who would not, at least in some way.
I mean, again, this is where we get into Democrat versus liberal versus leftist. There's definitely Democrats who would be like, I'm not about that. But the leftists, BLM all the way.
BLM. You might not find a Democrat in the country who would not, at least in some way, defend Antifa. You cannot find a Democrat in the country who did not justify the murder of Trump, all the way up to the most mainstream Democrats.
Remember, we saw Grandma with her 86-47. Grandma. All the way up and down.
Did not justify the murder of Trump, all the way up to the most mainstream Democrats. Joe Biden campaigned on this for years. He said that Trump poses an existential threat to the country. Existential meaning that
You
his
gonna
killing
die.
would be justified as a matter of self-defense. That's what that word means.
Existential, meaning existence. That is a threat to your existence, not a threat to your comforts, not a threat to your luxuries, not a threat to anything except your existence.
That's why the left used it. And they all used it. Ask the left to identify an example of right-wing political violence. What are they going to tell you? What are they going to point to?
Somebody put it in the chat. You already know. You already know. Somebody put it in the chat. I'm going to wait. It's not going to take that long. Right-wing violence. What are they going to go to every single time? I'm going to wait on you. I know you know it. I wish I had I should get the Jeopardy sign. There we go. Matthew King with the answer. Of course. January 6th, the worst day ever. Oh, no. I mean, okay, to be fair, obviously, I remember that he was going to say that. But you guys, obviously knew it too.
Identify an example of right-wing political violence. What are they going to tell you? What are they going to point to? There's one incident. Do you know, I think it was that, did you say January 6th, the worst day in the history of this or any republic? Rip my garments off to do an impression of the Democrats. These
garments, they don't wear those.
Supposed insurrection, during which some eccentrics entered the Capitol, some of them welcomed in by police, by the way, and they took selfies with lecterns and they showed off their silly hats, and it was a very terrible day. When the dust cleared on January 6th, how many people were killed in political violence?
One, right? Just Ashley Babbitt, unless you want to count. Was Nick sick? Was that the same thing where he had heart issues within the following week? But no, I believe Ashley Babbitt was the only person.
The answer, no, it's not zero. The answer is one. One person was killed in the political violence of that day. It was a right-winger who was killed by a trigger-happy cop. That's your great right-wing.
Say her name, Dilly. Exactly, right? Unless he's not just one. Oh, I thought you were saying unnamed. Yeah, one unarmed woman, Dilly to Ashley Babbitt. Was she rioting? Probably, based on what I saw, it seemed like it. Does that mean that it was a justified killing? Of course not. Even if it was justified in the eyes of the law from the cop that is seeing, oh no, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. I'm going to fire the shot. The attitude around that is like, oh yeah, we could just, whatever. In the same way that I believe Destiny was talking about Corey Comparte as just like, oh, some Trump supporter. And it doesn't matter that he's been existentially disappeared from the earth. This is the difference. This is the difference between us and them. And when I say us, I don't mean us as MAGA. I certainly, obviously don't mean us as atheists. I certainly don't mean us as Indian people. I mean us as people who see reality, by and large, for what it is, at least in the political realm, and not buy into the endless stream of bullshit and propaganda coming from the left.
Insurrection. Not only was January 6th not the worst attack in the history of the United States, it was not even the worst attack in the history of the Capitol, in the history of that one building. In
529, not that building, but
1915, an anti-capitalist former Harvard professor, but I repeat myself, it's a redundant description, he blew up a bomb in the Senate reception room in 1954.
Blew up a bomb or set up a, wouldn't you say set up? Okay, just nitpicking. Sorry.
He blew up a bomb in the Senate reception room. In 1954, four Puerto Rican radicals shot up the House gallery, injuring 5 congressmen. Just shooting congressmen. No horn hats, no lecterns, no selfies. In 1971, the aforementioned Weather Underground set off a bomb in the Senate to protest the U.S. military. 1983, the Communist Armed Resistance Unit set off a bomb, also in the Senate, also for the same reason. 4 attacks on the Capitol that involved explosives rather than horn hats, that inflicted real damage on the Capitol, seriously injured people, all carried out by leftists.
Surprise!
Political violence is not exclusively a left-wing phenomenon, but it is distinctly a left-wing phenomenon.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good line right there. That's
exclusively carried out by leftists. Political violence is not exclusively a left-wing phenomenon, but it is distinctly a left-wing phenomenon.
I like it.
We should be even more specific here, because some kinds of political violence are justified. I know that's going to be the headline in the papers when they report about this. Probably Media Matters is sending that clip around already, but it's true. It's true.
A headline: Michael Knowles wants to use the government to violently oppose his opponents. All right, I dropped it at the end there, but you know what I mean. Thank you. Yeah.
Just war would be an example of justified political.
What was it again? Not distinct. I want to hear that one more time.
When they report political violence, we should think phenomenon leftists. Political violence is not exclusively a left-wing phenomenon, but it is distinctively a left-wing phenomenon. Yeah. Political violence, it's right there in the name. So simple. For millennia, all over the world, societies have understood that some kinds of war can be justified. Some are not justified, but some are justified. Many of the best thinkers have reasoned about what makes a war just.
I mean, a lot of them said God, but we'll put that to the side for now.
If a war is, say, called by a sovereign authority, has a just cause, is fought with the right intentions, seeks good and merely tolerates evil, involves proportionality, and any number of other criteria, you could call that a just war. Another example of justified political violence is execution of a criminal by a civil authority. Execution specifically of a criminal who's been convicted of a capital offense.
So this is where I think I'll put up another poll regarding the death penalty, because I personally agree that there are people who, given what they've done, the death penalty would apply. But as we discussed last time, I don't trust the government to be able to determine that. So ultimately, I am against the death penalty. Let's see what you guys think.
Execution specifically of a criminal who's been convicted of a capital offense. We hardly carry out the death penalty anymore in the United States, in part because of the moral confusion wrought by leftists who would sooner murder a dapper and lovely pundit than a serial killer on death row. Very frustrating. But we can carry out the death penalty in principle, and doing so would be completely justified. Other kinds of political violence are not justified. Terrorism, for instance. It's the targeting of civilians to achieve political ends.
You know, as leftists call it, a Tuesday.
That is not justified. Vigilante murder, not justified. Even beyond fatal political violence, even vandalism of civilians' private property to advance an ideology, that would not be justified. This is not just my personal opinion or my suspicion. This is the shared view of serious moral thinkers for millennia. If anyone disagrees, if anyone thinks that terrorism is morally justified, I encourage you to come line up and present your case to me in the Q&A. I think our Antifa friends are still shrieking outside, so I don't think they're going to make it for the Q&A. But if some of them do, perhaps they can make an argument. But perhaps not. Actually, more likely they probably won't. What is strange about the left's and the right's approach to political violence is that while the right defends justified violence, and sometimes not even that, sometimes they won't even defend capital punishment.
Depends on the situation. You can't just say that because there are situations where the death penalty, or rather, let's not even call it the death penalty, but let's just say political violence or the death of a person based on capital crimes they've committed. That can be justified, but that doesn't make it a moral good. Those are two different statements.
Justified violence, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes they won't even defend capital punishment.
Yeah, Mixon said, if you totally trust the state to get it right, I implore you to look into the Karen Reed case. I brought it up previously. I think let's take a little, since it's relevant here, because two times in a row we're talking about this. Let's get what are the basic details of the Karen Reed case regarding the government's ability to accurately determine who should get the death penalty. Karen Reed, what you got for us? Karen Reed. Accused of killing her boyfriend in 2022. Damn, why was I thinking this was an old thing? Prosecutors allege she intentionally struck him with her SUV and left him to die in the snow outside a house in Canton, Massachusetts after a night of drinking. Defense argues that Reed is being framed and that O'Keefe was beaten and left outside by people inside the house. Okay, now this is coming back to me. Inside the house, many of who are tied to law enforcement. Evidence at the heart of the case includes phone data, surveillance footage, all of that stuff, and why it matters to the death penalty discussion. Even though, so I guess this one in particular didn't have the death penalty. We're just talking about trust in the government. It exposes the systemic issues. It exposes into broader arguments about whether the government can fairly and accurately apply the ultimate punishment. With conflicts of interest, evidence tampering, public doubt, all of that stuff comes into play. And so what are they saying here? They ask us a question at the end. Karen Reed case isn't about the death penalty, but it highlights why people mistrust the justice system's ability to fairly determine guilt or innocence, especially in high stakes cases. If the system can potentially frame someone in a murder case involving law enforcement, it raises serious doubts about giving the system the power to take a life through capital punishment. Would I like to explore any aspect? No, thank you, ChatGPT. I think you have got it for us. Shout out to M169 for a very relevant case. Not specifically about the death penalty, but in the state getting it right. And we can laud our justice system for being one of the best in the world, if not the best. But the best is still very far from perfect. Gabriel said, "I say no," but Charlie Kirk recently said yes. Yeah, we were. Was that in the one we were just covering? I don't remember. He's all over the place. But and that's an important aspect of not just blindly following the people that you like, that you listen to, that you get your news from, that it's okay to have different opinions, that you want to hear why is he in favor of the death penalty, and then you have your own opinions. And just because you like Charlie Kirk, just because you're on the right, just because you're MAGA, just because you're against the leftists screaming from the bullhorn, doesn't mean that you have to be in a cult-like agreement with the people who are at the head of the movement. M169 said her boyfriend was found dead on the lawn of another cop who wasn't questioned the morning he was found. Surprise, surprise. It's almost like they work together. The thin blue line, is it? As it were. I said, let's try that one again. If jurors would actually do their job, I would feel better about capital punishment. If there's any chance someone else did the crime, you're supposed to vote not guilty. Yeah, and that is, I would be a little bit hesitant to put too much of the blame on jurors, because technically you are absolutely correct. And this was a big thing, when I was in college and we were learning about a court case. I took an entire course that was psychology and law, and it wasn't like specific laws and cases like that, but more so about how the court can be used is a wrong way, but utilized rather for somebody who is doesn't have mens rea, who doesn't understand that they did something wrong, but isn't necessarily a complete wackadoo. There's the not guilty by reason of insanity. There's I don't remember what it's called, but temporary insanity, all that kind of stuff. And then there's jury nullification, where like Matthew's saying that even if the jury has the evidence and believes that the person did commit the act, there are certain situations where the jury is going to say, okay, technically, yeah, you did the crime, but given all the extenuating circumstances, you shouldn't really be going down for this crime like that. And so we can just say, nope, not guilty. And exactly as Matthew's saying, that should be the default. The default should be you walk in the door, not guilty. You start at not guilty, and you wait until something, that's taking me over the line. Now I have the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that this person is guilty. And unless and until you get to that point, you should stay on not guilty. That's why they don't say innocent. They say not guilty or guilty. Well said, sir.
Violence. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes they won't even defend capital punishment. The left only ever seems to defend unjust political violence. Have you noticed this? They'll scream about the immorality of the death penalty, but they'll excuse murderers as misunderstood, as having been failed by society, as speaking the language of the unheard.
Just poor baby Aladdin. Oh my God. And guys, don't forget that every donation comes with a treat for Morty. He is adorable, he is old, and he is hungry. Please help feed him. Guys, we do also have the Swogo. If you look at the top of the chat there, you can see how tiny and puny I am. 10 push-ups for 10 super chats. Help bulk me up.
By society, as speaking the language of the unheard. They use all these phrases. Sometimes the left will actively encourage murder. In the case of
86-47. Muslim said hell, the bar to represent yourself is so very low, it's laughable. This woman right now repping herself who has no business doing so, Lori Daybell. Daryl Brooks was another one who repped himself. Yeah, I think these are potentially, and I mean, I don't know the details enough, but it seems like in these situations, it's more like the exceptions that make the rule. You definitely do not want to go to represent yourself if you can avoid it. You definitely don't want to. On the fact that the basic procedural stuff, if you're locked up and you got nothing to do but read law books and figure out all that stuff, all power to you. But other than that, I think the best way to go is to have legal representation.
Sometimes the left will actively encourage murder. In the case of abortion, leftists will call to defund the police, gut prosecutors' offices, and abolish prisons. Then they will cheer on vigilantes so long as the vigilantes share their animosities. Unjustified political violence is a feature, not just a bug, of leftist ideology. The reason is liberalism's idolatry of the individual. In all of its forms, classical to progressive, liberalism grounds its view of politics in man as an individual entitled to certain rights, which government exists to defend, secure, and even expand. The expansion of these supposed rights is clearest among the progressive liberals, who every single day claim some new right fell to them out of the sky. They are not content merely with the negative liberties, much beloved by our founding fathers and the framers of our Constitution.
So definitely just because you can doesn't mean you should. That being said, I think it is very important that we have the ability to do so, because there is going back to the exception makes the rule. There are situations where even though the rule is you definitely should get professional representation, that I could think of a scenario where everybody's against you and even lawyers are not willing to whatever, and so you take the time and you represent yourself. I think that's definitely a good thing, but seems like we are on the same page. Shout out to Box. Welcome to the party, sir. Very good to see ya. Said I am against the death penalty. I said shit, me too. Welcome to the party, brother.
Merely with the negative liberties, much beloved by our founding fathers and the framers of our Constitution, the freedom from prosecution for stating your opinion, the freedom from the confiscation of our firearms. These liberals claim positive liberties, the sorts of things that are necessary for self-actualization, the liberty, the right to food, health care, a universal income even. Say what you will.
Wait, what? Sorry, I missed this. What did he just say?
Actualizate positive liberties, the section of our firearms. These liberals claim positive liberties, the sorts of things that are necessary for self-actualization, the liberty.
I mean, self-actualization is a good thing in general, but okay.
The right to food, health care, a universal income even. Say what you will about all of those supposed rights. At least they're possible in principle. A government with sufficient resources could, in principle, provide a lot of welfare and universal income and food and doctors and all the rest of it.
Okay.
The progressive liberals go further than that. That's a big problem.
And they say, not only can you, but you should, and if you don't, you're evil. Bach said, in theory, I can be for the death penalty, but in actual real-life practice, I cannot abide. We don't trust the government with so much, but we will trust them to get that right. Yeah, miss me with that. Yeah, we just were talking about, let's number up the Karen Reed case. And yeah, agreed. Guys, if you have not already, please do me a favor, hit that like button. It is so easy, it is so free, and it helps out the channel so very, very much. And if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe and ring the bell. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it.
They endeavor to expand rights into the realm of the absurd. So they assert a right to same-sex marriage, which is not an institution, but rather a contradiction in terms. The right.
Again, that's where I have to disagree with you. Once marriage is brought into the legal realm and out of merely the religious realm, then it has to apply to everybody. So that was y'all's fault. Whoever was in the church that was like, oh, we should make legal stuffs that goes along with being married. That's how we got gay marriage. Just saying.
Which is not an institution, but rather a contradiction in terms. The right of two men or the right of two women to an institution which, by definition, intrinsically involves sexual difference.
It's almost like while there is semantic obfuscation and linguistic creep, that language does organically evolve. And where it used to mean a religious matrimony, it now has become an agreement that we are going to share finances and be able to see each other in the hospital and stuff. Do I agree that that's very much watered down the sanctity of the institution of marriage? Yeah. But what do you want me to do about it? Y'all did that. Shout out to our boy, Unwanted Foe. Welcome to the party. He said, let's definitely do it. And then we got get another $2. Thank you. And of course, every donation, a treat for Morty. Let's get swole. There we go. My goodness. That's 3 right there, guys. Morty loves it. I love it. 7 more, and I am on the floor. And of course, sir, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very much appreciated. Welcome to the party, brother. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Look at him. He's loving it. Thank you so very, very much, sir.
To an institution which, by definition, intrinsically involves sexual difference. That's not a right at all. That's an absurdity. They assert the right of some men to be women, a transformation that is not only undesirable, but impossible. It just, even if I wanted to let people do it, if I were king for a day, I wanted to let people, I can't do that.
That one I agree with. You could pretend all the live long day, but one thing you cannot do is turn a man into a female. And you'll notice that when I started doing the whole dogma thing, that whether you believe in a man in the sky or you believe a man can turn into a female, I specifically was using bombastic language because, of course, we know that that religion is not believing that there's a man sitting on a cloud somewhere. I mean, maybe some people are, but most people don't believe that. And then when I was saying that, a man turning into a female as opposed to a man turning into a woman, it was meant to be like, well, no, they're not turning into a female. Highlighting the ridiculousness of it. But they've gone past that. Now they do actually call themselves the opposite sex, not just the opposite gender. So what started out as parody, call me the Babylon Bee, man.
I wanted to let people do it. If I were king for a day, I wanted to let people, I can't do that. It just isn't in my power. It's not in your power either. Now, the more modest liberals, the so-called classical liberals, they claim to be satisfied by the preservation of traditional rights, the right to free speech, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to private property, and so on.
Sounds good to me.
But there is a tendency, even among classical liberals, to expand this list of rights. You know, some people believe.
Is that, and again, is that inherently a bad thing to be extending the rights that we have? It should depend on what rights those are, right? M69 said marriage seems to be the last institution that merged the state and religion.
Bingo.
Yep. And again, I know, I keep saying it again. I would be totally fine with the marriage for straights and civil unions for gays and other if marriage was merely a religious practice. Once you make a law about it and call it the same thing, then you've brought it out of the realm of your religion, and it has to abide by every other law and statute under that we have. Buck said, I have one king for a day wishes. I really don't care what they do. Just don't trans the kids. That's a good wish. That's a good wish. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. Said, oh, Michael, you can't put a pause button on everything forever. You just press play and it just goes along like you never stop. The song continues. All right, shout out to that lady from What is Woman. The only unchanging thing, Guam Tech says, in the universe is change itself.
Bingo.
Exactly. Welcome to the party, sir. Now that I think about it, never mind. Okay. Welcome.
Classical liberals to expand this list of rights. You know, some people believe that to be a conservative requires one to be a classical liberal. They conflate these things. At least I'll speak for myself. I'm not any kind of liberal. You know, I'm not the new Coke version of liberal. I'm not the classic Coke version of liberal. I'm a conservative.
Speaking of which, I did have another job interview today for actually being a server, not a busser. And I'm pretty sure the manager that was interviewing me had stuff on his nose. And it wasn't boogers.
I'm not the new Coke version of liberal. I'm not the classic Coke version of liberal.
Interesting how they put classic Coke with the Koch brothers. Just interesting.
I'm a conservative, okay? We don't have to be liberal.
Okay. All right, Belmar.
Because even though we like our classical liberal friends, and there's a lot to recommend them, there is this tendency, even among them, to expand the rights. An arch-libertarian might claim a right to international trade, derived from his right to property, a right no longer circumscribed by political tradition and community, but understood to be absolute and eternal. And that same libertarian, ostensibly a man of the right, might likewise claim a right to view pornography, derived from the First Amendment, a right
Yep.
Bingo.
divorced from traditional American jurisprudence, which even today, again, at least in principle, does not protect any right to obscenity. In both cases,
In what way? In what way does viewing P-Hub content in the privacy of your own home as an adult not fall under the First Amendment? You can say, oh, I don't like it. I don't think we should have it, all that stuff. How is it? Explain that. Explain that. Because everything you're saying, I'm here with you. But when you say these little things, where are you coming from? Sounds more like this is what I would love the world to be if I could be king for a day. And these are the rules I would make. And like, that's an interesting conversation, but that's not the same thing as how do we, remember he's at a college, how do we as the conservative youth move forward? I don't think that really helps. Buck said a Ferris wheel at the Wailing Wall, a mini train at the Dome of the Rock. What? Allegedly. If I do get the job and then eventually this comes out, allegedly, and I don't know what I did or did not say.
in principle, does not protect any right to obscenity. In both cases, among the progressive and the classical liberals, we see an expansion, a progressive expansion of the realm of the will and a progressive contraction of the realm of reason. I want progressively replaces I think in political discourse. To use as an example, the issue that almost got me blown up the first time I came here, it doesn't matter if no one can explain how transgenderism works. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, we're definitely going to jump back in on that one. Gontek said, Michael, it was the friend you have a beer with, and when he starts to go off, you just shake your head and smile and say, okay, bro, continue to keep drinking with a smile, and you're a friend. I mean, then I think he's the type of person that I would be interested in the answers to these questions. I don't think he would, dig his heels in on something ridiculous. He might give me reasoning that works from his perspective that doesn't apply to mine, and we get to an agree to disagree. But I don't know about that. Seems like Matt Walsh. If we're looking at Daily Wire, seems like Matt Walsh is definitely the one where it's just like, okay, bro, whatever you say, man. But let's go. Oh my goodness, our poll is. I'll keep that running because we are close. Are you for the death penalty? Yes or no? Right now, no is winning by 1 vote. 1 vote. We could swing that whole thing. Make sure you guys hit the poll. Box said trans just means you want to dress up like a girl and take dicks. Pretty simple concept, actually. It's not complicated. Or maybe you want to cosplay as a boy. Either way, you want to take that. No, it's not complicated. It's just silly. It's not complicated. It's just silly. I don't think anybody here would claim that we don't understand what it is that trans ideology is trying to push. We just think it's stupid.
Stupid.
This is where woke right meets the woke left. He doesn't like porn, and if he had his way, he'd get rid of it.
Bingo.
Exactly.
One can explain how transgenderism works. It doesn't really matter. Is the claim that some men are born in the wrong bodies, they look like men, but they have the brain of women, as some contend? Or is the claim that one's identity has nothing to do with one's body?
Well, it depends on the conversation we're having, because remember, these people don't have principles. They just have positions, and whatever's going to be a winning position, if it has nothing to do with, if I'm talking about self-ID, then it has nothing to do with my body. If it has to do with trans rights and healthcare, then of course it has to do with my body. You see how this works, Michael? It's not about truth. It's about winning.
Some contend. Or is the claim that one's identity has nothing to do with one's body, as other people contend? Or is the claim that identity has so much to do with one's body that one must mutilate one's body? One must go on puberty blockers and castrate oneself at age 6, as still others contend. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter that all of those views contradict each other. None of that is really what's at issue. What matters is that a guy in a dress wants to dress like a lady and use the women's bathroom, and he's going to do it unless you stop him. That's really what the whole debate, such as it is, comes down to. The left's particular embrace of political violence, in other words, derives from a paradox at the heart of liberalism. Liberalism begins by exalting individual human reason, by untethering
Exalting individual human reasoning by
individual
untethering
human reason from history, morality, religion, duty, and anything else.
duty. And I do believe it should be decoupled from religion. But again, that's a nitpick. That is a whole other conversation. But that's a good line. Let's hear that one more time.
Individual human liberalism. Liberalism
Paradox at the heart of liberalism.
begins by exalting individual human reason, by untethering individual human reason from history, morality, religion, duty, and anything else that might limit its autonomy, including the first principles of practical reason. Once liberated from all these constraints, the human reason succumbs to the countless temptations and irrational desires that are no longer held in check by morality, duty, tradition, history, and all the rest of it. So this doomed project to expand liberty produces only licentiousness. Man's reason atrophies. Left unchecked, this ideology causes him to lose even his ability to communicate.
Yeah, exactly, Box. Trans surgery or drugs basically breaks down to an age of consent deal for me. And that's the principled stance that, okay, even if you are in favor of people being able to transition and you want society to accept it and all that stuff, again, you change the conversation when we're talking about children. And that matters.
Words to him lose their meaning.
Hi,
He can no
Morty.
longer define man or woman. The features that distinguish him as a human begin to fade away. When words fail, all that is left for him to express his will is to grunt, bark, and bite like a rabid dog. The sort of vaguely human rabid dogs who tried to blow us up when I came here a couple of years ago. It's a revolting way to live. It's repulsive to normal people. And it is the reason that people who embrace this ideology have made themselves such thorough and complete political losers.
I didn't know where that sentence was going to end, but I specifically wanted to bring up where it said, living this way has got to be just tiring and ugly. Like, these people are so angry and looking to be more angry all the time. I don't get it. Well, that's not true. I kind of get it, but I don't understand the desire to go further down that road. I can definitely resonate with somebody who feels like, oh, the world is so bad and we need to do this, that, and that. But like, where is the desire to be like, the world is so bad and we need to do this, that, and that. And I need to do something about that. But also, I need to find out more things that are going wrong that I can't do any more about so that I can be more angry. Because I don't know. Shout out to Amanda Price. Welcome to the party. So it's like looking for a fight for the sake of having a fight. Exactly. And it's looking for a fight for the sake of having a fight when you're not trained in martial arts or boxing or anything. It's like, maybe if you were actually good at this, I could understand. But it doesn't seem to be working for you or making you happy or adding to anything except the erosion of our culture. Well said. Welcome to the party, Amanda.
Themselves such thorough and complete political losers. Thank you very much.
That's a good ending. So what we're gonna do? We've got plenty of time here. This is all Q&A. So we're going to go through all of this. Or actually, no. We're going to switch over to the Yale one because Yale had better questions. And then we'll come back to this one if we have time. I mean, you could say what you want about the Ivy League, but, at the end of the day, they did have better questions. So where are we? Right here.
Serious people. Serious schools. Say the truth.
We'll be opening up for.
So this one is at Yale. Slightly different speech, but essentially the same thing. I do think it is worth listening to. As you can see, it's really only about 20 to 25 minutes on this one. Yeah, this one's only 18 minutes, so definitely worth checking it out. But the discussion is going to be generally the same about how the left is the left, and that's why we need to care. That simple. Yep, the erosion of mental health for sure. The average now is that you're going to have some type of neurodivergence or some type of disorder, and that's obviously not normal. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a disorder. And, I've got anxiety. I take medication for anxiety. I'm not, saying that any of us are perfect or that just because you have this, that, or the other, that you can't be smart, you can't have the right political positions. But the patterns that we see where it's so common that people who think this take this drug. Yeah, people who think this have this diagnosis. It's just a little bit too much of a correlation, not a causation. A little bit of, or maybe a causation, but a little bit too much of a correlation for my comfort. Almost 9 said they're addicted to outrage. You're not a good human if you're not outraged about the right things.
Bingo.
Well said. Again, the currency is that outrage. The more outrage you have, the more, I was going to say more better.
Stupid.
The better of a person you are. And it doesn't matter about fixing things. It's about showing how good of a person you are because you are so outraged. That's it. No principles, just positions. Well, like I said, outrage is so much easier to choose. Nobody wants to look inward and solve things from the inside out. Just place the blame and work on someone else. Who was it? The guy who's saying, oh, I can't remember what it was, but just the notion that I'm totally fine with, well, that's somebody else's problem. What were we watching? I don't remember exactly what it was, but the sentiment that you're not working or you're not contributing and you're getting stuff from the government and that stuff's not free. That's coming from other people. Oh, that sounds like a you problem. Insane. Box of the Daily Wire is laying people off. Maybe tighten the belt. I hope Mitch makes it. Maybe. He ain't going anywhere. Public degeneracy isn't the main problem of our times. It's laziness. That's where the degeneracy stems from. Very interesting take. So the lack of, that makes a lot of sense, because the lack of desire to accomplish, the lack of desire to find that intrinsic value in doing stuff, almost doesn't matter what it is, but just doing stuff, is not only going to quell the idle hands, idle hands, devil playground, but it gives you stakes in this community, in this national community, in your local community. It gives you stakes so that you don't want to be degenerate. Well said. Well, let's give that a dilly dilly. That is a great point. Dilly dilly to you, sir. Bucks, I feel like mental health is some made up bullshit. We invented it like ADD less than 100 years ago. I mean, there's definitely an aspect of bullshit to it, but I will flex my bachelor's degree in psychology. And like I was saying in the last stream, while there is tons and tons and tons of bullshit in psychology, all the way down, there is definitely a lot of true science that happens in psychology. It's just not most of psychology. Content said 1% better every day equals 365% better every year. And that is what the swole goal is all about. Tying it all together. Undeniable truth. Exactly. Box said you will never be a master if you are not willing to be an apprentice. The journey of 1,000 steps starts with one. And this is also, a sentiment that, that everyone and their mother who is under age 25, and a lot of us over age 25, want to be YouTubers and content creators for what we do as a living. And the thing that stops a lot of people is when you watch YouTube, you see the people who have already done the grunt work, already been bad at it, and you're seeing them because they're good at it. And then you do your own stuff, and it's like, well, I should be better at this. But, of course, you can only get better at something by doing it. And so there's a famous video from Roberto Blake that every new content creator should watch. It's called 100 crappy. You should make 100 crappy videos or something like that. And it applies to basically anything. So whether you're a plumber or you're a pilot or you're a programmer, whatever it is, you have to do a bunch of shitty versions of whatever you're trying to accomplish before you can get to the good version. Because the way to get to the good version is to do the bad versions and learn from them. Learn from your mistakes. Kenny Bonas said it was the debate Kirk had with the guy with the speaker thing, who said it's their problem. Yeah, I knew it. Shout out to Bambi talking this fucking bullshit. What the fuck is this? We speak English, all right? You don't speak English, you can get the fuck out of my country. Welcome to the party. Block said the physiology speak? What? You mean the psychology speak? The psychobabble. We unleashed it on Gen Z. Big mistake. Love bombing, trauma dump, narcissist, gaslighting. Yeah, and but I think there is with any of these cultural issues, the pendulum swings. So, with Gen X, they just didn't, talk about mental health issues at all. And then millennials came on and started normalizing that. And now Gen Z is taking it a little too far, but we can see that while these are not directly connected, that as Gen Z and even Gen Alpha now is getting to the age where they can answer these questions, where there's a shift to the right, something tells me it has a lot to do with this, because all of this is directly related to what we we're talking about with the guy with the bullhorn and laziness. That if you can excuse your behaviors, if you can excuse your lack of behaviors, if you can excuse your failures, then you have no reason to avoid laziness. But it seems like people are starting to figure that out. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. As I said, we were told to stop being bitches and suck it up, which clearly is, not the best way to handle actual mental health issues. But with everybody diagnosing themselves and doing all this shit, that's just in the other direction. So the pendulum swings, but we should even out a little bit over time. It'll bring new problems, but like psychology speak, should be,
Thank you for.
Okay, we've got a winner. While we've got a winner, I'm gonna kill this poll. We finally got a winner. Are you for the death penalty? 11 votes. Yes wins by 1 vote. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Those of you trust in the government is insane to me. But we'll see how much you trust them when you're the one on death row.
For your words, Michael, at this point, we'll be opening up for questions. If you would please come around the back.
Here's front of the line, which I read the Daily Wire, which is that if you disagree with me, you get to cut to the front of the line.
Good rule.
Which I really hate because, I'm an authoritarian and everything. So I'd like you to get to the back of the line in that case. But
I don't know why that's not standard for these things. Because number one, everybody's here to make content. Everybody's here to make content. So I get the notion that if you are, and this is on a campus, so it's not like this is a paid event. So I can understand to a certain extent that, like, okay, I paid to be at this event and I like you. Why the fuck should I have to wait? But in terms of content, entertainment, and fleshing out these ideas, that should be standard, whether it's Daily Wire or anybody else. If you disagree, you step up first.
Anyway, those are the rules. I have to abide by them.
Ready to pwn some
Mr. Knowles, I
nude.
appreciate listening to your speech, and I hope you've had a warm welcome back to campus. My question to you is, how do you define American identity?
Whoa. I worded it poorly. How exactly do you believe it should exist, and them not being the ones to trust to get it right? Who else is going to decide to get it right? We're talking about the death penalty. Who else would be deciding? That is baked into the question. There is no other party that has ever been in power to determine who does or does not, who does or does not die. Am I wrong about that? Has there been another body that has determined who dies? Oh, so you didn't understand the question either. It's the death penalty. What do you mean that it's not the government? It's the government. That's what the death penalty is. The government saying you die. That's literally what it is. But in theory, the death penalty is the penalty of death handed down by the government. Now, if we want to talk about the notion of somebody losing their right to live, sure. But the death penalty is a very specific thing. So, nope, I will not take that out. I want to vote. Said anyone know of any Dems, Libs, or woke pundits that do similar events like this, or they hold conferences that let random people with opposing opinions come up and challenge them? Not particularly. I'm sure I am not the main audience, so I'm sure whatever is out there is not coming my way. But I think the point you're making that they're too afraid to do this. Why am I not in focus? I don't see it. I don't see it. Box said you have to disconnect the actual from the ideal. Well, I mean, not in the question. It is what it is. So okay, so okay, let's do this then. So let's I don't even know how you would word what you're referring to in a way that could be confused without a lengthy explanation. So that's not, I don't even think that's a question worth asking. Do you think people who deserve to die should deserve to die?
What?
That's the only other interpretation of the question.
A warm welcome back to campus. My question to you is, how do you define American identity? And do you feel that there are any immigration trends or policies that pose a threat to that American identity?
Certainly.
The American identity. That's what we're here for. Dilly dilly to the American identity, not the trans identity, not the black identity, not the female identity, not the, did I say trans? Whatever, any of these. The American identity.
Trends or policies that pose a threat to that American identity?
Certainly, yeah. Some people suggest, and really this began in the middle of the 20th century, that America is merely an idea, floating in outer space. That's obviously absurd. Some people would suggest that America is merely founding stock. Despite my swarthy Italian complexion, I also descend from the Mayflower, which is a great cigar brand. And
I mean, to be fair, as much as we hate Destiny, he does pull people up to talk to him all the time. He just did have that discussion with Warren Smith. It was pretty boring, so I was planning on covering it, but just nothing really happened there. So there's that. I can't think of anybody else, though.
Italian complexion. I also descend from the Mayflower, which is a great cigar brand, and you can find it at the website that I'm not allowed to mention on YouTube if you're 21 years old or older, and some exclusions apply. And there's a little bit of that too. There's generational knowledge that passes down. It's not some magical blood. It's just it's a real family tradition, So there is a little aspect of that too. And there's even another form of nationalism that usually doesn't come up in the American context, which is throne and altar conservatism. It's much more continental and European. But
throne and altar conservatism? Okay, hopefully it looks like he's about to explain this. Did I hear
which is throne and altar conservatism.
Have you guys heard of this? I have not heard of this.
It's much more continental and European, but there's a little touch of that too. We are a Christian country. Our founding father, well, certainly the zealous pilgrims who came over here on the Mayflower were quite religious. And even our founding fathers who were vaguely deistic and, had some heterodox views, even they said, John Adams said that America.
What about Thomas Jefferson? He said nothing about religion and this being a religious country and all that stuff, right? Bambi said, Dems don't create jobs. They enable welfare if you don't want to work. That really, it's hard to argue against the fact that they really just want to bring us into the you will own nothing and be happy. When so much of their platform is about giving money to people or taking money from people who have earned it to give it to people who haven't. Why? Like, how is that such a, I mean, maybe, Gonzaga, like I said before, we're saying laziness is a real problem. Maybe there really just are that many lazy people that they either, they're lazy and they understand that it's unfair, but they don't care. They're lazy and they don't care enough to understand to be able to care. And they're lazy and stupid. Like, I don't know. Fox said, I like Destiny. His breakup drug arc was a bit much for me. Yeah, I used to be a pretty big proponent for Destiny in terms of not necessarily his positions, but the way he interacted, the fact that he would stand on business, that he had his opinions, right or wrong, he would be able and willing to defend them. Again, maybe not to my satisfaction, but willing to go out there, as we were saying before, bringing people up on his channel or going on other channels. But I don't care about the breakup. I don't care about the drugs. I care about Corey Comparte. That was too much for me. It said, Destiny does, but he doesn't debate. He just cracks out and word vomits nonsense. Nobody that's actually good faith. Anna Kasparian talks to people, but only rarely does she debate anymore. And I mean, I think that, unwanted folk, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but were you specifically asking about debates, or are you more just talking about, having, because you specifically asked about events like this, but, and then I kind of moved it over to Destiny with bringing people on this channel, because it's not always a debate, although it usually turns that way. Were you specifically talking about debates? Or were you more referring to just the discussion with people on the other side? Amanda said, here in Canada, our government has been doing its best to erase Canadian culture. We had a leader who, when asked what makes a Canadian, he said, what makes us Canadian is what we are not America. Oh boy. That is like an anti-commercial for Canada. Do you want to be less than? Do you want to be in the Northern Hemisphere and I don't know, the Temu version of America? Oh, Trudeau. Oh, Trudeau. Finally, he's gone though, right? All right. How are you feeling about the incoming administration? Fox said, I like to pay my taxers. I say taxes. With them, I buy civilization, but our government sucks at this, which is why you shouldn't like paying your taxes, or at least wanting them to make sure that the civilization is bought and paid for and delivered before you agree to pay the taxes. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. What is good? Yeah. No Dylan Soup. We got Rollo Adams. Rollo Adams in the building. Matthew said, my generation convinced their kids that they were special. Now they're all convinced the world owes them a fair shake. That's on you, Gen X, elder Gen X and boomers. That is why the millennials are the participation trophy. We were just going to soccer, baseball, lacrosse, whatever it was. Y'all were the ones that were in charge, but we get the shit for being the participation generation.
Oh, hell no.
Miss me with that. Matthew, that's on you guys. I'm glad at least one person can take the proper responsibility. Buck said, I watch TYT live every day. That's why I show up here 30 minutes late all the time. Today, Wednesday, is Anna's solo hour. That's... I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. So Unwanted Foe was specifically talking about debates and open discussions with bringing people in who have questions. Things like what Charlie Kirk does with Turning Point, going out to colleges, inviting anyone up. Yeah. So, not really. No, I mean, yes, Destiny did that the one time where he sat out and did that, but I can't think of anything like that. I mean, I've seen lives on TikTok where it's like, Trump is bad, come debate me. But these are, just normal people. These aren't, content creators. You give me the money. Bambi said Canada is just jealous because they can't do things right for their people. Property is astronomical and population is a fraction of America. Bad government knows no bounds. Yeah, right. We're all of us, the millennials, we're special, okay? And you will never convince us otherwise because we're amazing. And if you don't tell me that I'm special, then I'm gonna cry and I can't take it. No. Matthew said that specifically, so that's not Dylan Soup. Yes, I apologize, guys. All right, let's take a couple more. I am running here. Okay. Amanda said, right now we have Mark Carney. He's not been elected, just appointed, and he's a globalist banker bent on making Canada poor and taking jobs away from us. That is his head of the Liberals. Mark Carney has a load of businesses in other countries, but refused to bring his business he refused to bring businesses to Canada. Quite the leader.
Loser.
More like a loser. Bum, 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 bum. He owns his own pipelines in other countries, but refuses to build any in Canada, which we desperately need because it's a conflict of interest for him. Meaning he wouldn't be allowed to, because that's a little different. If he's not allowed to create the pipelines because of the conflict of interest, that's not as bad. Maybe like, okay, maybe he's not the guy to be the leader then, so that he can be the pipeline guy. But at least it's not like, I'm not giving you anything. Matthew said, we created you. Yeah, see, you'll at least take credit for it. Out there, out in the real world, the Gen Xers, they come down hard on us, but toughened us up. Can't stand when a problem is everyone else's fault. Interesting, right? Interesting. Definitely hypocritical. Amanda said, I think Pierre will win. Don't listen to the Canadian media. They are just as bad as CNN. Well, let's hope. Shout out to Pierre and what's his name? Mark Carney. I mean, I'm an American, so I don't care too much, but what is good for our Canadian brothers is good for us. Oh, my goodness. What do we got from Box here? We'll go one at a time. We'll spell it out together. And I see. There we go. And a nice. Thank you so very much, Box. Putting us over the halfway mark. Very much appreciated. Of course, making you the new sponsor of the stream. And guys, we are 3 away from the swole goal. Thank you so very much. Cannot thank you enough. And of course, I did already say that, right? Sponsor of the stream. Hey, we got per usual in the building. Welcome to the party. Long time no see. Always a pleasure to see you, brother. How have you been? Yeah, we are hanging out. We are having a good time. What else we got here? Amanda said it's competition for his companies in other countries. Okay, so it's not that he's not allowed to. It's just would hurt his other companies. So he's a fuck. Fuck that guy. Let's go, Pierre. Pierre seems so, what was his last name? Pierre seems so damn common sense. How could you not be in favor of him? Speaking my language. All right, let's dive right back in. Another huge thank you to our boy and new sponsor, Box. Thank you so very much. I'm going to back this up a little bit because I don't even remember what the hell we were talking about.
It's much more continental and European, but there's a little touch of that too. We are a Christian country. Our founding father, well, certainly the zealous pilgrims who came over here on the Mayflower were quite religious, and even our founding fathers who were vaguely deistic and had some heterodox views. Even they,
like Thomas Jefferson, who extensively talked about how this is not a Christian nation or shouldn't be based on Christianity like that. Again, that's for later.
They said, John Adams said that America. The independence was won on the principles of Christian morality, and "In God We Trust" is in our national anthem. It's on our money. It's in our Pledge of Allegiance. So it's a Christian.
There you go, Pierre Poilievre. Is that how you say it, Poilievre?
Country. It's not a Zoroastrian country. It's not a Muslim country. It's not a Jewish country. It's not an atheist country.
Hey, Mexico. Hey, you're allowed to go that way. Now that you're there, you're no longer a citizen. You can't come back. Just kidding. Glad to hear that you are doing the damn thing, brother. Very good to hear. Lies? What lies? What are we talking about?
It's on our money. It's in our Pledge of Allegiance. So,
well, yeah, that's because you put it there.
It's a Christian country. It's not a Zoroastrian country. It's not a Muslim country. It's not a Jewish country. It's not an atheist country.
It is a secular country that has a lot of basis in Christianity, sure, but it is absolutely a secular country.
We tolerate all sorts of people.
Which again is different than atheist.
Going back a long way, George Washington wrote that famous letter to the Hebrew congregation. So we have a wonderful kind of tolerance in American history, but we also have an identity that is grounded in something real. So, if one is to ask,
well, that begs the question, is it real or not? But again, we'll put that aside.
Also have an identity that is grounded in something real. So, if one is to ask, is America a people? Is America an idea? Is America a religion or a kind of cultural tradition? The answer, of course, would be yes. And so is there an immigration trend that threatens that? Yeah, the whole thing.
And so that's an interesting point about, does that make, this American identity a religion? And I would also argue, yes, that it doesn't need to be a dogmatic religion, but it should be a ideological structure. It should be something that people can follow, that there are rules, for lack of a better term. There are tenets. There is a core philosophy that applies to all Americans, regardless of what religion you are, because that's not how America is supposed to work. So it's Pierre Polyev. Oh, okay. Well, that's not how it reads in English. All right, I'm an American. God damn it! I don't be speaking this freaking Spangali, this fucking fruity French. I eat my freedom fries with ketchup. What was the cock-a-doodle poo-poo? Where were the lies? You said lies detected. What with meh? Lies detected. What were you referring to?
And so is there an immigration trend that threatens that? Yeah, the whole thing. That's what threatens it. Nothing against foreigners. I like foreigners very much. But when you flood the country with 3 million people a year for years and decades on end, that's going to seriously upend American society. And so what should we do? When I was a kid, there were two options for immigration. You could either be like the libs and support mass illegal immigration, or you could be like the Republicans and oppose illegal immigration, or look the other way, and support mass legal immigration. But really, the issue is we need to drastically reduce all immigration. That's what most people want. That's been borne out in polls by Pew Research, Harvard-Harris, rather, and Gallup even recently.
And it's interesting that there was, I still remember you, Mackenzie. I know that you watch sometimes, so maybe you're here and maybe you're not. But there was a time when Mackenzie was very active in the chat, in the Discord, all that stuff. And we were talking about immigration when this all started to kick up, right when Biden got into office. And we were discussing putting a pause on all immigration, legal or illegal. And point being to, just stop the influx of people, figure out what's going on, get rid of the people who shouldn't be here so that we can go back to bringing in people that we want to be here, or at least people that we don't definitely not want to be here. And I don't know how, but that got so misconstrued as to me saying that, that immigrants were bad or something, despite the fact that I am a first-generation American. Both of my parents are immigrants. All of my aunts and uncles are immigrants. My entire family is immigrants. And the notion that we should just pause all of it so that we can get back to bringing the right people. I don't know why that is a controversial statement. And I really wonder a few years later, if that same person, Mackenzie or otherwise, is somebody who thought that was a racist, xenophobic, da-da-da-da-da. Now that it's kind of accepted, it's a lot more normalized to say no legal immigration, no illegal immigration. Let's figure out what's going on. I wonder. Per usual, said I agree with reducing immigration, but did I hear that right? He is worried what effect it would have on the American people's religion. Yes, so kind of. So the previous line was about the American identity that I talk about. He used that term. He doesn't exactly mean the same thing, but the culture of America, the core of America, what that is. Can you deem that a religion? And he was saying that religion, the religion of America. I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Right? Let's back up a little
bit. Legal immigration. There were 3 million. Was America arrest is an entity that is grounded in something real. So, if one is to ask, Is America a people? Is America an idea? Is America a religion or a kind of cultural tradition? The answer, of course, would be yes. And so is there an immigration trend that threatens that? Yeah, the whole thing. That's what threatens it.
So he's just saying immigration threatens America, that it is a religion, it is a community, it is all of those things. So, it is, he doesn't mean Christianity. America is not an idea. America is a real place that you can touch. An idea is something that you can't touch. It's not a tangible thing. It sure is an experiment in freedom, but it is definitely real and not an idea.
So is there an immigration
It is based on ideas, sure.
trend that threatens that? Yeah, the whole thing. That's what threatens it. Nothing against foreigners. I like foreigners very much. But when you flood the country with 3 million people a year for years and decades on end,
that ain't gonna work.
that's going to seriously upend American society. And so what should we do?
Yeah, so he wasn't saying immigration is a threat to Christianity. Well, he might make that argument, but that's not what he was saying. He was saying the religion that is what we are calling the American way, that all this immigration is a threat to that.
When I was a kid, there were two options for immigration. You could either be like the libs and support mass illegal immigration, or you could be like the Republicans and oppose illegal immigration, or look the other way, and support mass legal immigration. But really, the issue is we need to drastically reduce all immigration. That's what most people want. That's been borne out in polls by
Now,
Pew Research, Harvard-Harris, rather, and Gallup even recently. So
4 years ago, we had somebody who was here every stream, all in the chat, a member of the channel, in the Discord, part of the after parties. And one little thing that I said that she didn't even fully understand, and Thanos snapped herself out of existence. This is why I do this. We need to be able to better understand everyone, but particularly people that we disagree with, and more importantly, people that we agree with, that we think we disagree with, because we're listening to what they're saying through an emotional tinge. Box said immigration is not a threat. The immigration we are doing now is a threat. They're just too off the. We'll stick with that. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. This seems like a way to be like, no, Michael Knowles is wrong, but you agree with him.
Pew Research, Harvard-Harris, rather, and Gallup even recently. So we have to reduce all of that. There are a lot of perverse incentives for the donor class and the political elite that are stopping that. But we have to do it. It's not because we hate anybody. It's not because we have any kind of irrational prejudice. But a country, at the very least, would say, is its people. And if you swap out the people or radically change the people, you're going to change the country.
Well, Box, this is what we wanted, and all of you liberals were like, that's so racist. You remember the whole discussion about vetting people? That's the process. But y'all didn't want that process. So now that they're here and they are in gangs and they are murdering people and they are raping people, it's almost like we were right the entire time. Breja said, how is it a threat? To you, I feel like it's great. I don't know what that sentence means. To you, I feel like it's great. I don't know what that means. But how is it a threat? Because there's no push for assimilation. So if we have America and we have immigrants that come and are part of the melting pot and melt into the pot, then great. But if we have, we'll use simple numbers. If we have 100 Americans and then we have 75 immigrants that are not willing to assimilate, now we have two different cultures existing on the same land. And because the liberals don't seem to care about American culture, then they not only is it the 75 people to the 100 people, but it's the 50 people of the 100 Americans that are going with the 75 immigrants to say, no, we should do things differently. So definitely a way that not good for America. Actually, the vast majority of liberals were never for that shit. Still aren't. There's disconnect between what we want and what our people say and do. The DNC is off the chain. Then stop supporting them. Stop supporting them. It's that simple. Stop supporting the people who are off the chain.
It's people, and if you swap out the people or radically change the people, you're going to change the country.
Do you think under this current administration we could see a reduction in mass migration? And if not, when do you think those policies might come into existence?
I don't see it because President Trump has said that he wants to drastically reduce illegal immigration, which he's done totally successfully. Let's not forget, Joe Biden and the Democrats told us that they needed a new immigration bill to stop the invasion that was happening at our southern border. And we pointed out, we conservatives said, why would we give you another bill? You're not enforcing the laws that are currently on the books. What's the point of that? And then Trump came in, no new law, and just turned illegal immigration down to nothing. However, Trump has said he wants more legal immigration, and he wants to bring in more sorts of specialized workforce. Elon Musk, who's very close to the president, has been advocating for that.
There you go. And that's why the walk away campaign, whether it's specifically with Brandon Straka or just the notion of people being aligned with the Democratic Party and then not being aligned with the Democratic Party, it's because they are doing all this bullshit. I was going to say something. Let's just go back in.
Workforce. Elon Musk, who's very close to the president, has been advocating for that. So I don't see it happening. Trump is great. You will not get any counter signaling or criticism of the Trump admin so far from me. The bags under my eyes show you how literally tired I am from winning because the news just keeps coming out hour by hour. However, sometimes the administration trails, by definition, the avant-garde of a political movement. And I think younger conservatives...
Yep. So my values didn't change. The DNC is paymasters they are accountable to. Yeah. I mean, my values didn't change. My understanding of why I had the values or why I had the positions that I had definitely changed. So the value, I used to be very anti-gun. But that's because I didn't understand why we had the Second Amendment. I didn't understand. I just didn't understand. And there's so much propaganda and rhetoric, which is why we see so many NPCs and stuff that you don't need to look into these things to get enough talking points or whatever to represent that idea, at least on a basic scale. Obviously, we see videos like whether it's Charlie Kirk or, videos like this, Liberty Hangout, where, they have the mic. You dig into the past, the initial statement of, I think this thing should be. I'm like, okay, why is that? And they don't know. And so that's good. Your values shouldn't drastically change. What should change is who you are looking at to be the best people to represent those. Whether you're talking about the media, whether you're talking about alternative media, podcasts and stuff, and shows like this, or the politicians themselves. Yep, just a shift in perspective. Producer said off topic, but I don't know how anyone followed the Democratic Party after Kamala said out of her own mouth that she was going to be giving free sex changes to prisoners. I can't believe people stood behind that. I would venture a guess. This is speculation. Take it with a grain of salt, but I would venture a guess that the majority of people either never even heard about this, because again, they're not paying attention to the news. They're just hearing stuff in passing. They either didn't know about this at all, or they just assumed that it was a right-wing conspiracy. I would bet money on that. Amanda said, I believe any party that stays in power long enough will eventually become corrupt. I agree, which is why no third term for Trump. No, thank you. No, thank you. That being said, I'm not going to necessarily cry if the next Democrat is a horrible person and they find a way to get Trump in. But it is not something I want. It is not something that I think is good, and I don't want it.
definition, the avant-garde of a political movement. And I think younger conservatives are immigration restrictionists. I think a lot of new conservatives, people who would have called themselves liberal, have had a change of heart. I think a lot of them are immigration restrictionists.
All right, Mr. Liberal violence person. We don't want to do any political violence. That was the whole speech, Box. Not the speech box, but Box. That was the whole speech. Per usual, said, how do you feel about JD? I think he's, doing a good job. I think he is representing what MAGA is supposed to be about. I question how much. So like a lot of people are talking about how, if they're not talking about a Trump third term, then the assumption is JD's next. I don't know. It's too early to tell. Maybe. But just because he is he is a post-Trump politician in the sense that he's not trying to be all buttoned up, that he's just a quote unquote normal guy, or he talks like a normal person. It's refreshing, but I don't know if that is enough. And if you remember with Ron DeSantis, that we thought, he's a great governor. He's a great governor. But immediately out the gate, he was not a good candidate for president. So I'm open to it. I'm definitely open to it, but I am not putting my chips on the table just yet. Most 9 said, if it's a power you don't want your opponent to have, you don't get to have it. That's why we didn't want him to pack the courts. Or rather, that's why they didn't want to pack the courts. Because even though it would help them, they're then giving the power to who they didn't know, but would eventually be Trump, to have more judges. So if it's a power you don't want your opponent to have, then you don't get to have it. Fox said, I like JD. I hope his mom is still doing well. Well, isn't that sweet?
Called themselves liberal, have had a change of heart. I think a lot of them are immigration restrictionists. I think it's going to take another election cycle or two before you can see that really go into action, if we're so lucky to see that at all.
Thank you for your insight and great answer.
Hello, Mr. Knowles.
Right.
I saw a video where you seem to endorse the Great Replacement theory. And
What is the theory, if you don't mind my asking? I need to know what I'm endorsing.
Yeah, well, you said it was an empirical fact, and just to elaborate on what that theory is, it's the notion that some sort of elite cabal is trying to bring in immigrants to replace native-born Americans. That's what my understanding of the theory is, and you said it was an empirical fact.
Yeah, it's obviously happening, yeah.
And I also know the ADL says that theory is anti-Semitic. I know that PolitiFact says that theory is racist and anti-Semitic, and I also have seen you...
Of course they do. It would be easier at this point. In 2025, it would be easier to determine what is it that the left thinks is not racist. What is it the left thinks that is not anti-Semitic? What is it that the left thinks is not transphobic? Well, let's go with that. Let's start there, because everything under the sun is racist, anti-Semitic, sexist, transphobic. Give it a fucking rest. This is why nobody likes you. This is why you lost in such embarrassing fashion.
I know that...
And this is coming from somebody who's like, oh, fuck the woke right, who's constantly talking about the Jews. It's fucking gay and annoying. But not everything is anti-Semitic just because Israel is fucking full of shit.
Yeah.
And I also know the ADL says that theory is anti-Semitic. I know that PolitiFact says that theory is racist and anti-Semitic. And I also have
PolitiFact said it.
seen you accuse others of anti-Semitism. So I was wondering if you would...
accused others of anti-Semitism?
The left of anti-Semitism.
When have I accused people of anti-Semitism?
I've seen many clips of you saying the left is guilty of anti-Semitism. So the question
the
to
left
you...
broadly. Yeah,
I'm trying to ask...
He's like, what have I ever said anyone was anti... Oh, the left. Yeah, of course.
The question, which is that I would like to know, sir, I want to give you the opportunity to recant support for the Great Replacement theory.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Lest you, of course. I think I'm all for...
Okay, so this came up during the Israel thing, so I think that's what you're referring to. What can you elaborate on what you're saying with these? It's less about race and more about both. Okay, well okay, so you're saying you agree with Michael that the Great Replacement is happening. There's no lies, and it's not about race; it's about votes. Gotcha. Okay, took me a second. Per usual, said, the only time I've ever experienced racism is from the left. Surprise, surprise. They are all love until you disagree with them. They constantly try to use scare tactics with me on ice because they look at my last name is Hernandez. That's the racism. That's the racism. They're so racist they don't even understand. They've changed the use of it through semantic obfuscation. That just means not agreeing with my position on something that has to do with people of other races, multiple races. If you don't agree with me, you're racist. There's nothing to do with bigotry. There's nothing to do with anything. It just has to do with I am right and you are racist if you're not agreeing with me. This is the playbook over and over and over again. Boxer, we put 2 death cults on the same plot of land. What could go wrong? Pretty much. Besides, after October 7th, the left came out in full force as anti-Semitic. Indeed. Yep. Box said, I accept my racism. I'm too white to figure it out. Oh, please, blacks, forgive me for being born. Forgive me for being white, something I had nothing to do with. I never had slaves. I never did anything wrong, but forgive me, please. I bow down in your presence.
Replacement theory.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Lest you, of course. I think I'm all for, people seeing the light of truth, as you stated in your speech. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to recant your support for that theory, lest you be guilty.
Oh, why are they all so kinda fucking scenting? Like, do you think that we're not aware that you're being tongue-in-cheek? Well, since you care so much about truth, I'm going to give you an opportunity. As if the motherfucker isn't on the stage with 2 microphones. Not just 1, 2 microphones. This is his event. Everybody's there to see him. He has the opportunity to say whatever he wants. But thank you, random person. Thank you, random person, for giving poor little Michael Knowles the opportunity to recant his support for a theory that absolutely exists.
Speech. I'm all for, people seeing the light of truth, as you stated in your speech. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to recant your support for that theory, lest you be guilty of what you accuse.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna give you the opportunity. Producer said, I would hate to be white in America. Y'all get shit on for all for the wrong reasons. Everything bad going on in a black person's life gets blamed on you. Blame the white man. Blame the white man. He made me sell drugs and gang bang. Pretty much. And this is directly relevant to the how's the easiest way to do this? I'm not gonna do whatever. The Black Pain video that I just put out. You know what? That's a good one. I want you guys to see it. And what the hell is happening here? Maybe we'll actually take a side quest. It's only a few minutes, but either way, it is an interesting conversation that is difficult to have a lot of times about how the black community is really the biggest detriment to black people. And so where is it? We got this video that I put out yesterday, I believe. But yeah, if you see that, go check it out. Talking exactly about what per usual was just saying. The world may never know. The world may never know. Like I said, not just white, but a white man. I can take it. I won't be bitter about it. I promise. I will point it out. I remember wishing when I was a kid. I used to wish that that I was white. Didn't realize that girls weren't paying attention to me because I was short, but I used to wish. And now, no, thank you. No, thank you. Guys, we have 3 minutes left to get 3 more super chats and hit that swole goal. I know you can do it, guys. You can do it. All right.
Opportunity to recant your support for that theory, lest you be guilty of what you accuse.
Okay.
Lest you be guilty of what you accuse.
Well, I'm not going to recant it because it's true and because the Democrats tell us it's true. You know, there was a major political science paper that came out in the mid-2000s, which recognized that there was a coalition of the ascendant, as they called it, of different groups that have come in largely through immigration that will displace the traditional American stock. And that this was a good thing because they tend to trend Democrat. You can see this in poll after poll. Ronald Reagan famously said that Hispanics are conservative. They just don't know it yet. I hope that's true. I got a lot of good
I mean, a lot of them do know it now.
Hispanic friends. I love my Cuban cigars and Nicaraguan cigars for that matter, too. But it hasn't been borne out in the polls. And actually, identity with the Democrats persists for 3 generations at least among new immigrant groups, which are largely from Latin America. So, you know, if the immigrants were supporting conservative policies in a traditional conservative country, I would, of course, take the Joe Biden position, open up the door and roll out the red carpet. But that isn't what's happened. So the Democrats have pushed that because they think that they can get votes, and it has worked for them very well. They've noted this. The New York Times has run columns
Glad to have you, buddy, as always.
describing how they will replace us. You bring up anti-Semitism. I don't know where that comes from. I mean,
Well, the
I
ADL
don't think Joe
classified-
From the Palestinians.
Biden's a Jew, is he? I don't even think he's a Catholic.
The ADL, I'm referring to the ADL's classification.
But who cares what the ADL?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, of course, ADL, to PolitiFact. And you know, when we talk about, we were discussing in Discord about the discussion with Sam Cedar on PBD, and there was a lot of the discourse around that discussion was, oh, they didn't even let him talk. But even in the stream while I was watching, I was like, you can see that Sam is purposely playing that role of, well, I'm just, so this is my opinion, and I think that if we go down this way, and then obviously saying things that he knows is going to piss people off, and then they're like, no, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And so the conversation is never about whether you're a tax evader because you moved out of California, and it's about, oh, they were not fair to Sam Cedar, who's a 4 on wanted, as if Sam didn't know that that's what he was signing up for. Cope. Amanda said, look at the reaction to the white kid who got stabbed by a black boy. Yep. It's just gone. It's just gone. Just gone. If it was the other way around, how would that be? Fox said, I smoke 2 packs a day. A 10 of Zyn a week, 12 packs every 4 days, weed every night, but no cigars. Cigars are bad for you. Good information. All right.
He's a Catholic.
The ADL, I'm referring to the ADL's classification.
But who cares what the ADL says? They say a lot.
I certainly care a lot. And also what concerns
I bet you do, you little beta bitch.
me as well. I saw in Charlottesville, horrible.
Charlottesville. You're going back almost a decade where there was like 12 kids. If he brings up the fine people on both sides quote, I'm literally, I guess you can't say that kind of stuff anymore, but it's gonna piss me off.
I certainly care a lot. And also what concerns me as well, I saw in Charlottesville, horrible videos of the white nationalists there chanting, they will not replace us. Direct allusion to the great replacement theory that you are continuing.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess I don't.
And then Joe Biden opened up the borders, and now they are replacing us.
No, I'm not saying
Us, not a white man, just an American.
To the great replacement theory that you are continuing.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess,
repeat.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's the Jews or anything like that. I think that when the Democrats tell us that's what they're doing from the White House and on the pages of the New York Times and in very popular political science academic work, I tend to believe them.
When people tell you who they are, believe them. Guys, we did miss the swoggle, but the party can rage on. We are coming up on that 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
I think the phenomenon that you're seeing right here in this exchange is that what Michael Anton refers to as the celebration parallax, which is that if I were a Democrat and, all of these crusty old Republican men, these men, especially the white men, these terrible people, they're about to lose their political.
Already. I mean, I don't know if it's hard to remember, but I don't think I was that bad. But when you're saying, oh, these crusty Republicans, these white men, I would have been like in a 2015 state of mind. I would have been like, oh, You're saying the quiet part out loud in terms of, exposing the Republicans. That's what I would have thought based on the beginning of the sentence. That's what I thought. Listen to the beginning of the sentence again and think about the type of person who thinks this way. Then understand that they are just people. These are not necessarily people that are stupid. These are people who are misguided. They may also be stupid, but they are misguided.
Here. And I said, all of these crusty old Republican men, these men, especially the white men, these terrible people.
That's going to catch a lot of lefties right there. Per usual, said the left only cares for illegals because they can abuse them and take advantage of them. Who will clean your toilet, Donald Trump? Racist. Per usual goes on to say, Jasmine Crockett just said that out of her own mouth too. They love cheap labor. Yep, I'm seeing infographics going around about how much an iPhone would cost if it was made purely in America. And of course, that's not a thing that could happen anyway. But the point being is that, it'd be like 30 grand for a phone. And so that's why we should allow slave labor. What? Okay, if that's the hill you want to die on, I ain't going to stop you.
They're about to lose their political power because of the mass migration, because they're all dying off. Oprah has used that phrase, by the way. Major Democrats have used this phrase. They're just going to have to die off. Then there would be raucous applause among liberals at Yale. But if I come up here and I say the exact same thing, I read verbatim from the New York Times.
Put a 1 in the chat if you have not seen the Kelly Osbourne clip.
Or from political science journals or from Democrat politicians. I would be accused of bigotry or whatever because I'm saying the same thing, but I'm not celebrating it. And so I think that's what's going on. But I don't know. Do you really deny that Democrats have engaged in a mass migration program?
I think you're entitled to an opinion, but not your own.
Not answering the question. He just answered your question in full and throws a question right back at you. Is it yes or no? Yes or no? Do you think this? No, I'm just going to say what I want to say. Man, as how often are you live? I am live every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. I've been doing a lot of weekend streams from the bedroom, but every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, I am down here in the studio. Making sure you are subscribed, ring the bell, and since they never are good with their notifications, make sure you join the Discord, guys. It is free to join. And thank you, Unwanted Foe. Just drop the link there. It is absolutely free, and you will definitely know every single time I drop a video. I've been doing videos, shorter videos every day as well. That is where you want to be. And because you are a member, you already have full access. So you got nothing to lose except your own money. We have the after party. We have plenty of stuff going on there, but after every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, after we are done on YouTube, we head over to Discord for an after party. We don't have to worry about any YouTube censors, anything like that. You are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else, whether you want to cam up or not, does not matter, but we are there for the party. Come and join us. Wonderful. So the bedroom streams aren't not safe for work. Sorry to anyone who's hoping otherwise. That comes with the top tier of membership. So if you're not familiar and you are not a member, if you would like, you can, God damn it, you can scroll right below the video here. There is a little join button near the subscribe button, and there is a bunch of different tiers here. Starts at just $2.99 a month. You can go at the more you pay, the more you get, but it's just $2.99 to get into the Discord. Plus, that comes with members-only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. And like I said, opens up that Discord server, and that is really where the benefit is. Because, here we can have interesting conversations and stuff, but like I was saying, we're limited by YouTube, and then we're also limited by the fact that you guys are stuck in the chat, and it is not really a good strategy for the channel to have everybody just up here chit-chatting. But when we want to hang out, that is definitely the way to go. And understanding people is way easier. We can hear their tone of voice. And if you decide to turn your camera on, which you absolutely do not have to do, you also get facial expressions, all that stuff. And then again, it's really focused on us being able to communicate with each other, whether we agree or disagree, and especially if we disagree. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Per usual, said it's crazy because the left always cries about slavery, but they are perfectly fine with it when it benefits them. It's perfectly fine with them when they don't have to see it. Yeah, maybe there's definitely an argument there about like, instead of reparations, we'll give you slave labor from somebody else. I don't know. Yeah, and especially if you, even if you're not familiar, I'm specifically, as soon as we are as soon as we jump into the after party, I'm gonna make a little video so that instead of kind of explaining this stuff, I'll get it in a nice concise way and show you guys kind of what it is, and basically just we have our free chat. This is, everybody can join for free. You can see all of this has happened since we started. And so, every single stream or every single video, we got that stuff there. But this is just the free chat. So we have disciple chat, current events, word of the day, watch party. And then, of course, we have our voice channel where it's not going to let me turn my camera on, right? But where we are here. So you can see the green going around my thing when the voice comes in. So even if your camera is not on, you'll be able to tell who is talking and what is going on. It is a lot of fun. And like I said, that is the main purpose of why I created this YouTube channel, is to create that community. So again, guys, it is free. It is free. And if you're like Box, where you're not super familiar with that stuff, that's totally okay. Number one, it's really simple. And number two, we are more than willing to walk you through anything you don't know. Long story short, it's basically a group text with multiple channels, and then there is the voice channel. That's about it. But there's a lot that goes on. Bambi said reparations have been paid. Welfare is predominantly blacks and Hispanics. Whites are minuscule. Per capita, I think, though, right? Not necessarily by sheer numbers, but either way.
To the side. All right, thank you, Michael. We're going to move into Q&A. So anybody who...
Wait, did we just... Wait, what? Oh, why? Oh, that's why. Okay. I was like, we definitely were
Deny
there.
that Democrats have engaged in a mass migration program?
I think you're entitled to an opinion, but not your own facts.
I'm
And
just asking
what
a simple question.
I've seen, I think Democrats support helping innocent people who are fleeing persecution.
That's what they want you to think. That's the propaganda. That's what they tell you, so that you feel like all the bullshit that they do is A-okay. Because what they really want is to support helping innocent people who are fleeing persecution. No, honey, sweetie, baby. Oh, no.
Who are
What about
a better life.
what about
My
economic
grandparents,
migrants, which is the
sir,
majority?
my
of
grandparents
mass
fled the
migration?
communists in China to come to this nation. And I will say, as a member of the Democratic Party, the reason why I support immigration is not for some conspiracy theory to replace people, but because I think immigration makes our nation stronger. I think.
Okay, so take that to its logical extreme then. So if immigration is inherently good, then why don't we import the entire world onto this plot of land? Oh, so there's nuance here. There's nuance here that maybe in general or in principle, bringing people from other places in the world can strengthen our American culture under certain circumstances. But that doesn't mean that immigration and people coming here is inherently a good thing, which is the argument that he is trying to make.
But because I think immigration makes our nation stronger. I think when you look at the Statue
Remain in Mexico.
of Liberty and you see the poem there, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. I think that it is the American thing to do to extend a helping hand to these innocent people. And I will also add that undocumented immigrants, for instance, contribute $100 billion in taxes to the U.S. economy.
Immigrants are a net drag because of welfare programs and also because of crime. But I'm glad that you...
Okay, fine. So Box said it is inherently good. It just has to be done within reason. It's about assimilation to the idea of America. So why would we not want the entire world population in America? and try to get them to assimilate. Why would we? God damn it! Why would we not want that? Or why would we want that? What do you think about that? The entire world population, because it's inherently good that people come here, right? So the more people, the better. That's what an inherent good means. Oh, okay, okay. I was getting ahead of myself, and you're getting ahead of me. Chill.
You like that?
Unless you're not purposely quoting this.
Immigrants are a net drag because of welfare programs and also because of crime. But
just not all here. So what you're saying is, it is the mental and cultural diversity, not the color of your skin, but the mental diversity, the cultural diversity that is good. But if we're not getting that from the way immigration is being done, then immigration itself cannot be an inherent good. Wonderful. So take England as an example. It's becoming the grape capital of Western society because of its massive immigration. The U.S. had continued with illegal immigration, that would have happened here, and it still might. It still might. These things take time. People get embedded, and some people are just crazy right off the bat. But you get comfortable. First, you're in this country, and you're like, okay, I don't know what's good. I'm gonna lay low. And you're like, all right, well, it seems nobody's really bothering me. Then you see the pretty girl, and it's over. America, the idea, has no boundaries. I said that earlier. America was an idea, an experiment in freedom. Okay, sure, the idea doesn't have any physical boundaries. We're talking about the plot of land.
Economy.
Immigrants are a net drag because of welfare programs and also because of crime. But I'm glad that you like that.
Are you saying?
One second.
Oh,
I'm glad you like that silly poem on the Statue of Liberty, written by a socialist on a statue given to us by the post-revolutionary French. That's all well and good. I'm a New Yorker. I like the statue well enough. But that doesn't supersede federal immigration law. The silly poem doesn't supersede the Constitution and the way that laws are actually passed in this country. So it seems to me that the American people have the right, through their elected representatives, to pass immigration laws to determine who comes in and out of this country.
Are you, genuine question, are you saying that land like our beautiful national parks, our untouched forests, that we should get rid of all of that and build immigration housing? I'm good. And somehow that's automatically going to create more wealth? Just because there's physical space doesn't mean there's more resources. And we said, no, America is covered for the ability to make money. They don't give a fuck about our values. They want our monetary system. The ones that want to adopt American values are the ones who are legal. For the most part, yep. And I mean, I'll definitely, I'm not going to say that there's no such thing as an illegal immigrant who wants to assimilate to America. Certainly, that's not the case. But we got rules for a reason, and when we're seeing the effects of millions and millions and millions of unvetted people, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, this is such a privileged take. Hey, vey. Oh, hey. There we go. There we go. So if that's your stance, then why are you not, Box, in favor of all of you illegal immigrants getting free land in Canada? I'm sure Mark Carney would be all about that. Because the principle is there's a lot of space. So why then, I'm going to hold you to an answer, Box. Why then do we want people in America before we want people in Canada, immigrants? Answer that question for me, please.
Through their elected representatives, to pass immigration laws to determine who comes in and out of this country, who gets to benefit from our great abundance and generosity. And you say otherwise. You say you like mass migration, mass illegal immigration. Okay, that's fine. I don't think that's particularly American. I think it's anti-American, illegal, makes the nation weaker, and that's why I oppose it. You can call me conspiracy theorist.
Yup. And said, look at Canada immigration. Look at Canadian immigration is nuts here. We don't have the resources or infrastructure to take care of all the immigrants that have been coming through here. It's almost like nothing but land is completely disconnected from the idea of bringing people to a country. Well, that would be for Box, not on one to vote. But yeah,
legal want. But you're admitting that it's happening. How's that a conspiracy theory?
Thank you.
No answer.
Hey, Michael. I'm a fan. But a bit of a shorter
I don't
question.
like that, but hold on.
Bit of a shorter question than the last one. So you're Catholic. I'm also Catholic, and a lot of these immigrants are Catholic, which I like.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say you had you knew personally, or you were friends with a undocumented or illegal immigrant who.
So again, the question was about Canada having more empty land than the U.S. and a Box saying that we got lots of land, we should use it better. So if we have X amount of land and Canada has 5X land, then based on your reasoning, based on your logic, all these people should just be shipped up to the Great White North and problem solved, right? Box said if we took over Canada, we could send people there to take over. I'm cool with that. Okay, sure. That's a different. So that's a nice answer to a different question. The question is, why don't you want to take the people who are coming into our country illegally and instead send them to another country? Whether or not we take over Canada is a different conversation. Right now, we are not Canada. Right now, we are the United States of America. So if we are basing this on land that is not being used, then why do these people come to America? Why should they stay in America instead of going to Canada? Why would they go to Montana or Utah or wherever? Wyoming, when we could send them to Canada before we have a discussion about taking over, because clearly countries like Mexico have no problem taking in El Salvadorians and Venezuelans and send them to America. They got space. They got money. Do we though? Yeah, I mean, I'm down with it, but you know that also that's another part of the conversation. We don't know that that's going to happen, but the idea is more land equals immigrants should go there. Then we should have zero illegal immigrants in America until Canada is stacked full, body to body, with illegal immigrants. Okay, and so why would these people not be sent to Canada where there is more land? I'm going to hold you to this, Box. I'm going to hold you to this. Amanda said it's our government that is inviting most Canadians are tired of the mass immigration. Yeah, but there's so much space. There's so much space. And so we need to fill Canada before we take any. They want them. Facts. Jesus said we need to focus on America, not every other country. We have homeless vets. They deserve a spot before anyone else.
Bingo.
Exactly. So, Bucks, why not Canada before Wyoming?
Personally, or you were now, if let's say you had you knew personally, or you were friends with a undocumented or illegal immigrant who isn't a criminal, but maybe they went to the emergency room once or twice because they don't have services.
Well, they are a criminal if they're a legal immigrant. But aside of that, okay, fair enough question.
Isn't a criminal, but maybe they went to the emergency room.
Isn't a criminal outside of being here illegally.
Once or twice because they don't have services. And then Tom Homan came to you and said, Michael,
Okay, so Canada does not hold the ideas of America, but Canada is more willing to invite people in than we are. So why is it not your position? I'm not talking about the idea that Canada has. I'm talking about the ideas that you have. Why are you not saying, hey, there's all of this land. That's where people should go. When you're saying, oh, there's all this land here. Okay, why do you want people to come here?
Or have services. And then Tom Holman came to you and said, Michael, do you know any people who, like, in your community, maybe your church, that are undocumented? Would you turn them in?
Well, this is a good question. And this falls in line similar to a question that I had last week about why we were seeing stories of people who are illegals or people who have illegals in their family or friends or whatever that are getting deported, and they were Trump supporters, and they were like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect this. Like, why? Why didn't you expect this? This is literally the main thing that he ran on, getting people like you out of this country. And so I understand if you think, okay, clearly Trump is the better option in my personal opinion, but I want to be here. So I have to vote a little bit more selfishly, or, just not vote. I don't get that. But this is a slightly different question. And actually, let's make this a poll. So you guys are like me, not cigar smokers. It's a certain crowd. So what did I okay, so would you rat out your friend? This is your friend who was an illegal. We'll say to ICE. No. Okay. Would you rat out your friend to ICE who was an illegal? Your friend is an illegal immigrant. Are you ratting them out to ICE? What the fuck are y'all talking about? Yeah, there's tons of undeveloped land in northern. Space is all I need. Dammy said California did that, and taxpayer pays for new homes for illegals. I'd be livid. No, they're loving it. They're loving it. They're like, this is what we work so hard for. This is what our white privilege gets. I said, I mean, it's cool. There's no persecution. They just want safety, correct? Apparently. There's tons of undeveloped land in northern Canada and Alaska. It's not America. When did Canada become part of or when did Alaska become part of Canada? There you go. Alaska's cool with me. So that's how people die. Yep, that's how people die. If you send someone to New York where there's bad winters, right? You can take a bus, you can take a train, you can fucking walk, and you can get to North Carolina or somewhere to survive. If you get dropped off in Alaska with no home, no money, no resources, no documentation, you die. So what you're saying with this is that you want illegal immigrants to die. I don't think that's what you believe. Mammy said if they were Trump supporters, they would have known it was possible, which again raises the question, if you knew it was possible, why did you vote for it? I'm glad that illegal immigrants are getting deported, but if I was an illegal immigrant, I'm not going to vote to deport myself out of America. Per usual, said, why is it a problem when we deport? But it's okay everywhere else when we are not being mean. Let's just take care of your people first. And if that Blanco Chico came to Mexico illegally, he would get deported. That's really all it is, dude. It's just, well, but it's mean. The poor baby immigrants, they can't do anything else. Even though they made it all the way to Mexico, they couldn't have just stayed there. Like, come on. Buck said Canada, not so much. Canada's not America. obviously, but you never said anything about America. You were talking about the notion of land. So let's just spell it out for you, since you don't seem to be getting what I'm putting out here. The idea that there is unused land, I'll put that in quotes because we want that land, but the idea of there being unused land has absolutely no connection to whether or not that place should be used to house illegal immigrants. Unless you can present an argument, which I've been asking for, but all you're saying is not really much. So I'm trying, buddy. I'm trying. One of those, it depends if a friend owes me money. Usually said that is a hard one. Would you rat out your friend to ICE who was an illegal? And he said no, but I would not lie or impede an investigation or whatever unless they were questionable. Usually said I would encourage them to get their citizenship. Well, let's assume that they're already trying to do that. Fox said, can we take the Israel budget and build single-family homes here in the USA with it? Why would we? I mean, take the Israel budget, sure. Why are we building? Are we building single-family homes from the government, and the government is selling homes to people directly? Or what is it that you're asking here? And see, this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing. I'll just say, we as a people, we've gotten too comfortable just throwing out ideas that sound good and not drilling down on them. If you think, if this idea comes into your head, well, Israel gets a lot of money. Well, we don't want to give Israel money, and people need homes here. Then before you want to suggest that out in public, and I mean, here, we're all friends, it's whatever, but you should be determining, well, why wouldn't we take the Israel budget and build single-family homes here in USA with it? Let's try to think of reasons that doesn't make sense. Well, we have a real estate market. Well, we have plenty of Section 8 housing and stuff like that. So now we're taking taxes to build homes for illegal. We're already doing that. And we already don't like that. So, I mean, I guess it would be better to do one bad thing as opposed to two bad things. But again, these are not connected ideas. Matthew said, won't rat on them, but not hiding them either. Never talk to cops. Fair enough. Man Price said, we don't have homes, healthcare, or the work for immigration.
Bingo.
Where are we going to put them? In the woods? No one can get in homes now as it is. Same here. Man goes on to say, I just spent 6.5 hours waiting for a doctor because we are overrun. So, Blocks, the point here is that you're doubling down. It's a bad idea, and that's okay. We're just chit-chatting and you threw out an idea, but it's a bad idea. Just let it go. It's not a good idea unless you can make that argument where we're all wrong, in which case I am willing to hear you, but you're not doing that. One of us said, for real though, there could be people living in northern Alaska right now, and absolutely nobody would know about them. It's a place where you 120% have to fight to survive against nature. I have a friend who lives in Alaska outside of Fairbanks, and what do I want to say here? Let's just say, if I had a little bit more meat on me, you guys ain't bulking me up. If I had a little more meat on me, maybe I could survive winters like that. And maybe I'd want to move to Alaska to be with this girl. But the winters, nope. I'm staying right here. Oxygen Pro opening up public land for homesteading. There is no place off limits within reason. Citizens only. I think that clears it up. Well, no, because I don't think anybody was saying that citizens shouldn't be able to homestead. We're specifically talking about illegal immigrants. I will remind you that your claim was, we've got lots of space, we should be using it better. That was your claim. $40 acres. So now 10 million people are each getting 40 acres. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? We're gonna finish this guy's question. But yeah, I don't know what is going on with you, brother.
And who isn't a criminal, but maybe they went to the emergency room once or twice because they don't have services. And then Tom Homan came
Hey, shout out to Indy Bam. Welcome to the party. Yeah, I mean, she looked good too. She does have a kid, but like, she looked good, and she's short, and she's got that milky white skin. I hope she's not watching. That would be really weird. One fellow said, you wouldn't want to move to Alaska. You get sun maybe a couple weeks a year. Well, there's that. And then throughout the summer, it doesn't fucking get dark. So when I'm trying to go to bed at a super early hour because I'm, lazy and want to sleep, then the sun's going to be out 24/7. Hell nah. Nope. I'm trying to get her to move back to Jersey. Or if I end up moving to North Carolina or South Carolina or Arizona or one of those places. But she don't like the heat. So this wasn't meant to be, baby. Preujo said, I do feel bad for illegals, though. Mexico is pretty poor in most places. Yeah, it's beautiful, but poor and pretty lawless. But that's not our problem. That's their government's fault. Bingo. And the fact is that many places in Mexico will solve the issue that these people are escaping. There's no, absolutely, as a global community, if there is a way that we can prevent people from being persecuted and oppressed in a real way, not the way that the fucking Zoomers use it, then yeah, great. But you're not entitled to, number one, escape that. And you're sure as shit not entitled to any level of luxury. You should be glad that you are out of wherever you came from and you're in the pretty poor in most places, Mexico. And then if you get to America, then you should be ecstatic. Yet we see the demands, especially in New York City. Let's see. I'm going to try and find that video. Give me a second.
to the emergency room once or twice because they don't have services. And then Tom Homan came to you and said, Michael, do you know any people who, like, in your community, maybe your church, that are undocumented? Would you turn them in?
Okay, so we will get an answer for that. Let's try our luck. Let's try our luck with this.
Concerns growing tonight among New York City's migrant community about what President-elect Trump's immigration policies could mean for them. Migrants, along with immigration advocates, gathered tonight in Foley Square, where they expressed fear over Trump's campaign promise of mass deportations. Fox 5's Kendall Green has more.
Hundreds of immigrant advocates packed into Foley Square to rally with signs and chants.
No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
Are they though? Well, I mean, I guess she's right.
The spirit of resilience against an incoming Trump administration they've had battles with years before.
While our movement experiences setbacks, we will not be silenced.
You can see the sign here. Seeking refuge is a human right. That's what you got in Mexico. Now you become an economic migrant.
Aparicio is an immigrant from Mexico, among hundreds in the crowd. Sharing since election night, he's had worries for him and his loved ones.
It's really boring for me because when I came to this country, I was hoping to find opportunities for myself and my family. With Trump, it's going to be a little harder.
Mayor Adams earlier this week admitted the city has struggled to balance the overall.
I'm going to try one more. Real quick. Bambi said, I think it's asinine. My mom is an immigrant and has little education, and she is the most solid woman I've ever seen. She owns everything she has. People are capable but unwilling. Bingo. It's not government responsibility. Absolutely. I hate that. I was driving home from work yesterday, and it was like 6:30-ish, and the sun was just going down. I was like, I'm glad I'm out of the house right now, because if I didn't have anything else to do, and it was 6:30, like 6:45, day's over, I want to climb into, I'm not going to fall asleep, but I want to climb into bed and get, roll up and done and darker, earlier, better. Done. There is no world. If we were going to stick with daylight savings or not daylight savings time, I would be totally fine with a 4 a.m. sunrise. It's called an eye mask. It's called an eye mask. It gets early. It gets light early. It gets dark early. Beautiful. Morning people, you get all this light, and night people, we're better in the dark anyway. I'm going to serve the argument and dwell on it that I don't have a good answer. Well, that's all you got to say. I don't know, man. You bring up some good points, Lutch, in the chat. I will continue to think about this. Fair enough, dude. Nobody's trying to, dunk on you. Nobody's trying to make you seem stupid. Nobody's trying to do any of that. But when you keep doubling down, then okay, we're going to continue. But if you're just, okay, I'm not ready to have this argument because I thought I had a good idea, but you've shown me it's not as good of an idea. I still think the principle stands, but I would need to go back and think about it more before I can continue this argument. Absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Yep. We said random weird memory. How come when I was pregnant, I got flirted with and hit on like crazy, especially by Mexicans? Oh, those Mexicans. See, the thing is, Latino women are perpetually pregnant, and so Mexican men just... I couldn't help myself. All right, let's finish this up.
Rhetoric and balances budget.
This is it, guys. If we don't, if Morty goes hungry, this is it.
The pressure of finding billions of dollars.
And guys, remember, if you are a member, I could definitely use your help. I want to make a little promo video for Discord. So if you could join the after party, that would be very much appreciated.
Instead of going to those needs that everyday New Yorkers needed.
Yet the administration addressed the fears many immigrants expressed ahead of Thursday's demonstration.
I want to reassure people they do not need to self-deport. They do not need to hide, go in.
Self-deport or self-report?
Need to self-deport. They do not need to hide, go in.
You absolutely need to self-deport, because if you don't, we're going to deport you.
In the shadows, and that they can continue to use our city services.
Members of the New York Immigration Coalition gathered to stand up for immigrants amid imminent threats posed by Trump's second presidency.
We are here today to reaffirm our commitment to protect immigrants.
Making note.
The audacity. And again, using the semantic obfuscation to make this about immigrants. It's not about immigrants. It's about illegals. It's about criminals. It's about people who have broken the law. That's what it's about.
Affirm our commitment to protect immigrants.
Making note of Trump's expressed efforts to implement the largest mass deportation in the country's history, ousting an estimated 11 million people.
We will not stand by as Trump's deportation agenda threatening our community. We will be there for them.
Now, part of their efforts to empower those who came out, they offered pamphlets outlining individuals' rights in case they're approached by ICE agents. That's the latest from Foley Square. Kendall Grain, Fox 5 News.
There we go. Guys, let's get Morty one more. One more. Let's get him one more while we're listening to this question about whether or not he's going to turn them in.
Undocumented. Would you turn them in?
Well, it's a tricky question because I would do anything Tom Homan asked of me. I'd give him a cigar. I'd go, I don't know, that guy's great. However, probably I wouldn't rat out my friend. I think that I have obligations of loyalty to friends of mine. It depends if he irritated me recently, then I might turn him into the feds. But of course, the exception sort of proves the rule, and a related concept is sovereign is he who makes the exception. And so, of course, we're going to engage in an immigration program that is grounded in justice and in prudence. So Trump is not going to deport 16 million people. I don't think that's possible.
Ah, shucks. Hey, shout out to Unwanted Foe, keeping the party raging. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. Feed the beast. And I believe 246-511, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much. Fox, he said, fuck you. I am the captain now. Thank you. And look, we got our boy Indy Film. Thank you so very, very much. You guys are amazing. Amazing. Look how happy he is. And I am loving seeing that you guys are hitting the like on the super chats. It is I can't hit the like button. I can heart it. But the fact that you guys are, engaging in a communal way. If you can't contribute, that is totally fine. This is a free show. No, I don't know your financial situation, but I believe we are doing big things here. And so when you guys contribute, it not only means the world to me that we make him happy, but it gets us closer to accomplishing a better fucking world. Maybe a little bit grandiose, but somebody's going to have to convince me that I can't do it before I believe it.
And in prudence. So Trump is not going to deport 16 million people. I don't think that's possible. So far, he's only focused on the face-tattooed Satan-worshipping gangsters, and the libs are still upset about that. They're crying over MS-13 being deported. But there's a reason he's focusing on that because, obviously, that is the immediate threat. It shows you the stickiness, though, of the illegal immigration issue, because once people come here, especially if they've lived here for years or decades, it's much more difficult, even just politically and even personally, to deport those people. But no one would say they have a right to do that. No one would say that is conducive to the flourishing of the country. It's damaged the country by most metrics. So that's why it's so important to get people on the same page, to actually enforce immigration law, to make examples of at least some large number of immigrants who will be deported. There's no...
Wow, so 20% of you are like, I don't give a fuck if that's my boy. Fuck you, you're out of here. You say that's a little wild. That's a little, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. But to each their own. MX9 said it's about illegals. Exactly. And the notion that crossing the border illegally isn't a crime boggles my mind. Well, that's not true. So no boggling needed. No boggling needed. They're just lying. Bijou said the protests going on are sick for deportation. Burning our American flag while waving their country's flag is disgusting. And that's kind of what I was trying to look for. Somebody who was being a little bit more coarse with their language and a little bit more direct on their hate for America and their love for their own country while they are fighting to stay in this country. Insane. Mamie said, I'm harsh. I'm in Arizona. It's overrun with illegals. Most places are Spanish first. It's annoying. The black gangs hate the Mexican gangs and vice versa. Mexicans always leave plastic on the mattresses. Mattresses? What mattresses are you hanging out with Mexicans? You know what? I don't even want to know. To each their own. Emmy goes on to say, burn our flag because you're mad that you can't stay. People want to come here because not everyone can. Once everyone can, it won't be coveted anymore. Restrictions are required. Rarity impacts value. Bingo. Well said. And yeah, they're not nice guys. They're not nice people. We don't know which ones they are because the left wouldn't let us do any vetting, but they're not all criminals. They're not all nice people.
Examples of at least some large number of immigrants who will be deported. There's no contradiction between having laws and also enforcing them with prudence.
Would you lie to him?
No, I would never lie because it would be wrong to lie. And I'm no consequentialist, I'm no utilitarian like these libs here.
I'd lie. I mean, I don't really know a situation where you would need to actively lie unless you're being asked about if you know this person's status. Like if somebody knocked on my door and I was friends with Jose is illegal. And someone said, hey, can you give us information on Jose, whatever you know about Jose? No, I can't do that. I mean, I can do that. I just won't do that. It would be very, I can't think, like, give me this situation where they would be asking me a direct question that they know that I know. Well, I guess they don't know. But yeah, what's the situation where I have to tell a lie? In this case, omission doesn't count. So we're talking about a lie of commission, where I am actively telling a falsity. What would the situation in terms of what we're talking about with illegal immigrants who are friends? Because I mean, you know, I'm Kantian. I believe that lying is always wrong, but I'm also of the opinion that the exception makes the rule. I also have no issues lying for my loved ones. So if you know, if my brother or my sister, we're not even close like that, they came to me and needed help burying a body, I ain't saying shit. Sorry. We got that one. Hey, shout out to Holly. Welcome to the party. So I'm a green card holder, married to a U.S. citizen, and I would 100% expect to be deported immediately if I broke the law, especially as it pertains to things like drugs, rape, and murder. Yeah. It's just confusing to me why people who understand this stuff don't follow it. And like this is the modest position to have, that the rest of us aren't better than you because we're citizens. That's not what this is about. But we absolutely have more of a right to that which is American than someone who is not American. And again, that's nothing after you, but that is to respect the process of what it means to be a U.S. citizen. And I'm sure that when you get your citizenship, it's going to be a very special thing, as it should. And you, in my book, are welcome in this country. You said, of course, that would be an appropriate action if you took that. Exactly. Wonderful feds are going to use this footage anytime they take you to court in the future now. Don't care. That was to them, not to you. Yeah, and there you go. There you go. So if you're just a normal person thinking about things in a normal way, and there is reasons for you to want to be here, then just act like you want to be here. We get it. We want to be here too. Well, what I can do is give you this video, a little discussion where it entitled, I think I understand the Trump tariffs. Am I wrong? And we'll drop that in the chat. Go check that out, because I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but I'm not really fully sure. So I understand sort of, but I notice every other country is mad at us for placing tariffs on them, but they do it to us. So that seems fair. Well, left seems to really hate the idea. Oh, they do. I just want to learn about things I'm not educated on. They seem like a good thing. So from my understanding, the TLDR of this, definitely still go watch it. But the TLDR is that it is a tactic. It is not a plan to just, you know, use tariffs in the way we are now in perpetuity. From what I understand, and I could be very wrong about this because I don't fully understand it either. That's why I said I think I understand. The idea, the plan is reciprocal taxes, or reciprocal tariffs. Like you said, they do it to us, so we don't want to pay that. So now we put tariffs on them, and that will get passed to the consumer. But it's a short-term pain for the long-term gain of getting rid of, if not all of those tariffs, at least to a certain extent. Then, once that occurs, then we can adjust the rates of the tariffs that we're putting on other countries on imports to use that to replace the income tax. And that part, I don't know that far ahead. But 30,000 feet, that's what I think is the plan. If you can explain it better, please help me out. All right. So he wouldn't lie.
Wrong to lie. And I'm no consequentialist. You know, I'm no utilitarian like these.
All right. Thank you.
So I might speak in a way that is maybe a little more misleading or something. I don't know.
Hey, Michael, really good to see you. First of all, thanks for coming here.
I did. I expected to see something different. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Michael. Really good to see you. First of all, thanks for coming here. I have a question about something you said a while ago, like 3 years ago.
Okay.
So you made the very controversial statement that abortion is much worse than slavery, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just like you, I'm a Christian. I'm a very pro-life person. I think life starts from conception. I agree that
But I'm black, so I have to say slavery is worse because the black community. Again, guys, check out my black pain video. The black community is destroying the black community.
principle, ending human lives is worse than, robbing someone of liberty. But where I might somewhat disagree with you or have a question about is that in practice, is it really fair to say that, let's say, being a 7-week fetus that doesn't experience pain is worse experientially than being a fully grown human being who's like in bondage of slavery for like 10, 20 years or like your whole life? Is that worse experientially? Could we really say that?
It's just worse morally. Yeah. And I think you agree with me in principle, actually. Where you're getting tripped up in your mind is you're basing human dignity on the ability to feel pain. Right? But you don't really believe that. If a guy is paralyzed and he can't feel any pain, you don't think that I would have the right to murder that guy. Yeah. If a guy falls into a coma, you don't think I would. Or if a guy falls asleep and loses consciousness.
This is a good example of what I was talking about before with challenging your ideas and having a thought that seems like a good idea. And so you're not immediately like, this is a bad idea. And then you present it to somebody else and then they dig into it. And being in a good faith manner, actually trying to knock down your own idea so that you can be confident in holding up that idea. If you can't knock it down, someone has to be either smarter than you, more well-read than you, or whatever else to be able to knock down that idea. So if you can attempt to knock it down and can't achieve knocking it down, then it gives you a lot more strength. How long is this? 8 minutes. We could do 8 minutes. All right, let's let this guy finish, and then we are going to check that out from Guam Tech. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Murder that guy. Yeah. If a guy falls into a coma, you don't think I would. Or if a guy falls asleep and loses consciousness, you don't think I would have the right to kill that guy. So I think even in your own thinking, you wouldn't say that the right to life of the baby, which is being violated in a murder which is obviously worse than some kind of forced servitude. I don't think even you would agree with that. We just get tripped up because the babies look like little weird alien things and they don't move around like we do. So it's difficult to anthropomorphize them, but we don't have to anthropomorphize them because they're humans.
Right.
Yeah, and Holly's saying if you want to live in America, be a citizen, you must prove to that country's citizens, that would be us, that you're prepared to do it legally. I did, Holly says, and honestly, it's not impossible. Is it difficult? Yes, as it should be. Yep, Mom and Papa Lunch did it, and I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not impossible. What's nonsense spoken? Like someone who's never seen the fetus try to get away from the suction. That's me. I've never seen that. But, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I need to. Yuck. And so the funny thing is the libs here in Canada are crying about the 25% tariffs on some goods. Meanwhile, China has 100% tariffs on us. Libs are not talking about it because Carney is indebted to China. Of course. Propaganda, rhetoric, talking points. That's all they know. That's all they know.
It's difficult to anthropomorphize them, but we don't have to anthropomorphize them because they're humans.
Right. Which is why, again, I agree with you with the moral principle, but I'm just wondering, like, is it really fair to say, like, experientially one is worse than the other?
That's not what he said. So he's basically trying to say, if I was going to choose between being a fetus that was eventually going to be aborted or being somebody who had to live their life as a slave, then there is an argument to be made that you would prefer to be the fetus because you're not experiencing the pain and the loss and all that stuff. Sure, that is not at all what was expressed when he said that abortion is worse than the Holocaust. Holocaust or slavery? Slavery. Either way, because it was based on the numbers. The numbers. Most denies that this kid needs to be reminded where there's life, there's hope. Well said. Well said. Amanda said Trump derangement is strong in the Lib Party and mainstream media here in Canada. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Let's put that to a poll. Where is TDS worse? Where is TDS worse? America or Canada? Let me know what you guys think.
Like,
What do you mean
really clear?
experientially?
So like if you're pretend you're
What do you mean? What do you mean experientially? Having the experience.
experientially, one is worse than the other. Like,
What do you mean
really clear?
experientially?
So like if you're pretend you're the fetus doesn't feel pain.
I was a
versus,
fetus
like,
once. Yeah.
True. Versus you being like a slave. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm almost like divorcing the principle from the practice, even though they're kind
Exactly. You're doing, not you, but exactly to him. He's divorcing it so that he can make a point. This is the Sam Harris method of making points. Well, if things were different, then they would be different. Okay. But you just said, why are we using slavery as an argument? It's not like the baby is going to be born and work his whole life in a cotton field in 2025, because Michael Knowles was the one to say that abortion is worse than slavery was. So that was Michael that brought that up. And by the numbers, there's no argument. Way more people have been aborted than have been slaves in America.
of the same issue, but
Right.
I don't know.
Because you
Maybe not around the world, and that would be the place to make the argument. Say you mean only in America, because there may have been I'm just throwing a random number out, 1 million slaves. Sounds like a lot, but there was 1 million slaves, but there's millions and millions and millions and millions of aborted babies every goddamn year.
you recognize the moral principle. And I think you agree with me.
Yeah, but I'm black, so I've got to make a point for the community.
Yeah. You're just saying, well, in practice, the slave guy is like really big and he looks kind of like me, and the little baby thing doesn't look like me because he's small and has like a tail and stuff.
Yep.
And so that's true. I understand why through your immediate and irrational sense experience, you would have a greater deal of sympathy for the fully grown person than the little baby. But you're a rational creature. That's actually what defines you as a human being. You're a rational creature. This is what we mean when we say you're made in the image and likeness of God. And so when you subject that sensory prejudice to reason, you come out on the right side of things, which is that it's wrong to murder, especially to murder the most innocent kind of person you can imagine.
Obviously. All right, so let's see what the liberal hive mind has for us. Of course, we're going to hit that like button. Why would we ever watch a YouTube video that someone put their time into and not just hit the like button? So what's the meme of the day? All the George Floyd statues should be replaced with this one. Fight, fight, fight! I'm with it.
Let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look at this. Here's a post from back in March of this year, specifically on the 11th of March,
11th of March says Trump is trying to crash the stock market at least 20%, causing a flight into treasuries. This will cause the Fed to slash interest rates so he can refinance the debt to near 0% and cause a deflationary spiral, which will lower the cost of everything. He also intends to use tariffs as an incentive for companies to build in the U.S. to avoid having to pay them. The tariffs and the resulting global trade war will also force American farmers to sell more of their goods in the U.S. due to the retaliatory trade measures, which will directly lower the price of groceries in the U.S. More than 94% of all stock is owned by just 8% of the U.S. population. Trump is literally taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. This is why Trump is playing a game of hokey pokey with tariffs. One day he has 25% tariffs on Mexico, and the next he doesn't. This is to cause extreme volatility in the markets and a desperate need and demand to flee towards treasury bonds, which are much more stable but offer much lower potential in return. This is also why eggs are cheaper now than they were under Joe Biden, even though they went up right after Trump got in. So Guamtech said about our poll, where is TDS worse, the U.S. or Canada? It's a hard poll. I'll say Canada because they may not have as many opposing view on the agenda as the USA. Plus, half the country doesn't seem to hate Trump, just the media and the establishment. Very good point. Per usual, said abortion is horrible and abused, especially by the black community. Sorry if that sounds racist. Nope, it's just a fact. They want to be a dominant race, but continue to abort a lot of their babies. How does that work? Don't like only if they're woke. There you go.
2025, where a user wrote this, quote, Trump is
he's going to fucking read the whole thing. God damn it.
Trying to crash the stock market at least 20%, causing a flight in treasuries. This will cause the Fed to slash interest rates so he can refinance the debt to near 0% and cause a deflationary spiral, which will lower costs of everything. He also intends to use tariffs as an incentive for companies to build in the United States to avoid having to pay them. The tariffs and the resulting global trade war will also force American farmers to sell more of their goods in the US due to retaliatory trade measures by other countries, which will directly lower the price of groceries in the United States. More than 94% of all stock is owned by just 8% of the US population. Trump is literally taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. This is why Trump is playing a game of hokey pokey with tariffs. One day he has 25% tariffs on Mexico and the next day he doesn't. This is to cause extreme volatility in the markets and a desperate need and demand to flee towards treasury bonds, which are much more stable but offer much lower potential return. This is also why eggs are cheaper now than they were under Joe Biden. And here's where it gets crazy, because this random 4chan post is kind of mirroring exactly what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been saying.
Top 10% of Americans are 40 or 50% of consumption. And
so that's the big point that all the left is like, look, see the stock market? Ask that person how much money they have in the stock market. That's the fucking part that I was missing. That yes, the stock market is down, but it's not like wages or jobs are down. In fact, it's the opposite. Jobs are up. So unless you are someone who is held up by the stock market, then why the fuck do you care? There's always volatility in the market in general. So unless you're a day trader, then what's the issue with the stock market goes down and stock market goes up? And in case S&P, so in case you forgot, we're talking about, so let's go the last month. So they're talking about this huge crash, right? This huge crash. But if we zoom out to 1 year, then this is all the way down here. Now we dipped and now we're already coming back up. We look at 5 years ago, we look at where Biden was, and this is what people are bugging out about. This is what people are bugging out about. You guys can see this, right? Okay, sorry. Here. So yeah, if we zoom out, this was the Biden years. We were going up, we were doing, and then COVID and blah 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 blah, and then Trump comes in, everything is going up. Oh, there's a little dip. Oh my God! Oh my God! The world is ending. Is it though?
that is an unstable equilibrium. The bottom 50% of working Americans have gotten killed. We are trying to address that. We're trying to get rates down. And could we be seeing that this economy that we inherited starting to roll a bit? Sure. And look, there's going to be a natural adjustment as we move away from public spending to private spending. The market and the economy have just become hooked. We've become addicted to this government spending, and there's going to be a detox period.
He's talking about the same thing when it comes to the wealth divide, and he's also been talking about rates. They want the rates to come down, and that seems to be exactly what's happening. Just take a look at this chart. This is the 10-year Treasury rate.
Jesus fuck, what the fuck am I looking at?
It's now dipping below 4%. And this is really important for the purpose of refinancing.
Yeah, 4%, guys.
The nation's debt. And we're not talking about small numbers here. In the past 12 months alone, the American taxpayer paid $1.1 trillion in interest on the federal debt. And if this continues into the future, well, just think about it. We're talking trillions of dollars in interest payments. And so what people thought might have been just a wacky theory on a 4chan board, well, might be a whole lot closer to the truth than what the mainstream media is telling us. And here's the crazy part. Donald Trump just reposted a video on Truth Social that essentially confirms the theory. theory. Donald Trump posted this video, unironically.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now, here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this?
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May. And those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now, it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now, you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the U.S. to bring grocery prices way down.
The one thing I still don't fully understand is if this is like, are we talking about the same tariffs that are eventually going to replace, or supposedly going to replace, income tax or sales tax, whatever? I think it was income tax. Or is that a different, is that a different plan? Is that using tariffs in a different way than what we're talking about here? Because this, we can see that this is for pushing money into treasuries to, with a temporary hit on the stock market, and then a leveling out. So, but there's been a lot of talk of getting rid of income tax through the use of tariffs, like we used to have, and I don't fully understand if that is the same thing that we're talking about in this video here, or if that is a different plan that just also has to do with tariffs.
We've already seen this with eggs. Now, remember, 94% of all stocks are owned only by 8% of Americans. So Trump, he's taking from the rich short term and handing it to the middle class through lower prices.
So while the Democrats are saying stuff like this,
they want to crash the economy so that they can set up a process of punishment and reward.
I mean, producer says, see, that's what I thought. The idea of tariffs were, I don't know, it's, yeah, it is confusing. It's confusing because we got so far away from them, and it's been politicized that a tariff is either a good thing if you like Trump or a bad thing if you don't like Trump, when it's just another market force. It depends on how you're using it. What is the goal? How is the plan going to work out? And what is the goal?
So they can grab more power for who will bend the knee and give them access. None of this is normal.
Donald Trump.
Oh, normal. We want to talk about normal. If this is what you consider not normal, I've seen what you consider normal. I will take not normal, according to Ilhan Omar.
Wants to crash the economy. He wants to destroy America as we know it. The reality is this might be one of the most sophisticated macroeconomic plays in world history, to the benefit of the nation, to the benefit of regular people. But if you listen to these Democrats, I mean, they're just beating the same dead horse. It's the same broken record.
That's all they know how to do.
Donald Trump and the billionaire class. Donald Trump is trying to enrich billionaires.
Donald Trump is betraying America, just totally going back on what he said when he ran in the campaign. And now he's with those bubble of billionaires, doesn't care a damn about the middle class, how he's hurting them. And so now senators will turn to an issue especially alarming to so many people, the deep, deep corruption that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Doge have unleashed on their watch.
Well, I mean, if Chuck Schumer is telling us that there's corruption, then we better watch out. And everyone said, yes, definitely shrinking the federal government is a way to get more power for the people. Yep.
Amazing amount of self-dealing, and they're trying to enrich themselves on the backs of the government, which means on the backs of the American people.
Projection. So I'm to believe that Chuck Schumer, somebody who has never, ever, 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 ever cared about putting money in the pockets of the American people, is against the guy who ran on putting money in the pockets of the American people, and is taking money from the Chuck Schumers of the world and putting it into our pockets. I think you're lying, Chuck.
We are currently living through a president who wants to be a dictator. In America, we do not accept dictators and we do not accept kings. We have a billionaire who has bought a seat next to the president, using him as a puppet. And
bought? What was that transaction? Remind me of the exchange, what we're talking about?
American democracy has never been for sale, and it won't be today. We are seeing a cowardice congressional Republicans that are utilizing the chaos our fascist president is creating to cut Medicaid, Social Security, and take away our rights.
But just think about it. Does that make any sense at all? As we're seeing Elon Musk and Donald Trump getting hit with endless lawsuits.
Nope. It makes absolutely no sense unless you're retarded and you will just believe whatever somebody who has a D next to their name and a microphone in front of their face will say. If that's you, then yeah. Yeah. But if you have more than 2 brain cells to rub together, then you're like, hold on. This seems a little different than the way you're presenting it. Shout out to Indie Film with the $10. Thank you so very, very much. Morty is over in his bedroom. He's chilling out, but of course, every donation gets a treat for Morty. And if I am not mistaken, I believe that gets you the sponsor spot, right? What do we got there? We had 12, right? Oh, unwanted foe by $1. He said, fuck you, I am the sponsor now. Thank you so very, very much, sir.
That make any sense at all? As we're seeing Elon Musk and Donald Trump getting hit with endless lawsuits, protests, attacks, they're actively losing wealth. Not to mention the billionaire class isn't exactly doing well with this current tariff play. Yeah, it seems less like Donald Trump is acting to the benefit of him and the few billionaires that supposedly control his administration, and more so like Donald Trump is again making a crazy macroeconomic play to bring prices down, to balance the budget again, to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I mean, if he was really trying to enrich the elite, would he really be going to war with Wall Street?
If he wanted to enrich the elite, would we expect that the elite would have a problem with it? It's almost like they're lying. Rollo said, I want to make a hands-on counter-protest. Low-key. Per usual, said, my 145-year-old grandma got her Social Security check cut. Somebody has to do something about Trump. To be fair, there was a huge number of people on the Social Security rolls, but those checks were not going out in those numbers. Were there false checks going out? I'm sure, but not millions of people over 120 years old. Just so we're being accurate.
Come on, it seems like the answer is no. It seems like this is really about fixing an economy that's been hollowed out. It seems like it's about putting America first and building up America's private sector, creating strong jobs, a strong dollar,
How dare you?
We can't have that if you're Chuck Schumer.
Industrialization, debt reduction, and ending the Wall Street game and the big bureaucrat public spending game. I'll tell you, we're living through some interesting times, and I really think there's something to this theory. I mean, Donald Trump is reposting the video that's basically laying it all out, and Scott Bessent is basically saying the same things from the Post, yet the leftoids are telling you that this administration's incompetent, they're crashing the economy, they have no idea what they're doing.
Then you know we are in good hands. All right, let's, I wanted to, do I care? I'm curious as to whether this original video that Trump is reposting is meant to be like a dunk on Trump, or if it is like, guys, this is okay because Trump is purposely trying to do this. But I kind of don't care that much. Much nine said the left screaming about something not being normal is peak irony. That you have to learn to speak their language. And when they say normal, they mean fucking weird. We like that? We did like that video. Of course we like that video. And when they say normal, they mean something we've never seen before. Oh, no. Almost went to the wrong one again. All right. So we'll finish this.
Then to coerce servitude, even if coerced servitude is bad too.
Mm-hmm. Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
So slavery, not as bad as abortion.
Hi, Mr. Knowles. My name is Jake Secondo. I want to preface this by saying that I think that you do a great job and you're very articulate and you're a genuine good force for the conservative space. I saw you at AmFest too.
No, I'm not that handsome. Come on, stop it. Get out of here.
All right. But I disagree with you in general on a few very important topics.
Just on life.
There's a butt cut. Didn't you sense the butt? I sense
Yeah, I'm Italian too. Yeah. Debating the left is fun and all, but ultimately it is fruitless. And a lot of us young folks are seeing this now. We have already established that the left is not arguing with. We saw you in Jubilee. Was it entertaining? Yes. And I think you did great, but it did not move the needle whatsoever. So why don't you start?
And I've gone back to covering, like they always copyright claim the Jubilee videos when we cover them, but we don't seem to have an issue during the stream. And, you know, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I turned the ads off for midstream, and hoping that yeah. So let me know about how that feels if you noticed, if you didn't notice. But I don't even remember the point I was making. I apologize.
Yes. And
Jubilee. Yeah. So we're gonna do more Jubilee.
You did great, but it did not move the needle whatsoever. So why don't you start having meaningful debates with folks who are on the right? I believe you would have an extremely productive discussion with someone like Nick Fuentes. Would you be open to that discussion?
I would be open to hearing that discussion.
I don't know, because I met.
Was that an I don't know or an I don't know?
Fuentes, would you be open to that discussion?
I don't know, because I met that guy years ago. I don't watch a ton of his stuff, but I met that guy years ago, and he came up to me at a political event. And he pretended that he was a big fan of my work. He said, "Oh, Michael, I'm a big fan." I had no idea who he was. So I said, "Okay." He goes, "Can I have a picture?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So we take this picture, and then he posts it on the internet and, you know, insinuates that we agree on things. And so the very first thing this guy ever did when I met him is lie to me. And then I do see him mostly in my Twitter replies, because he replies with the most nasty.
Leave the Daily Wire.
Say it again.
Leave the Daily Wire.
Well, not just that. He also replies other nasty. So I see him a lot in that. And so I don't know. I mean, it's not that I'm not open to converse with people, but I don't know if the guy's nasty and devious and has kind of made his entire career out of ankle biting me. I don't know that I'm inclined to give him the time of day.
I think this is an antiquated way to approach this. And maybe the fact that the Daily Wire itself is big enough to, you know, have this buttoned up, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." But I think we're moving more to an online landscape where that's going to be seen as a cop-out for someone else. And which I think is a good thing, because I do want to see those conversations happen, because I do want the Nick Fuentes of the world to be shut down by people who actually matter in the eyes of other conservative voters. Dylan said, "I don't know about Fuentes, but then again, they can entertain clowns like Destiny, Vosh, Tate, Avalon, and the amazing Lucas, then maybe approach him on a case-by-case basis." That's what I'm saying. And the only way to expose these people is with sunlight. Hey, Andy Pound. Thank you, sir. Couple bucks for no ads. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. I'm just trying to do the best show I can for you guys, man. That's all I'm here for. Thank you so much. Out sponsoring yourself. Per usual said, Daily Wire is fire as fuck. Matt Walsh and Tucker are my guys. Shout out to I do like the two of them. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure out where I'm at with Daily Wire as a company. Jeremy just left. There's stuff going on. Ben is very, 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 very pro-Israel. And you know, I don't care. Obviously, I don't care that he's Jewish or whatever, but fuck Israel. So America first. And I think he said, if I remember correctly, the only reason that he's America first is because America is Israel first. Something along those lines. Not maybe in those exact words, but yeah. One to Vogue said, out of curiosity, I looked up the number of slaves versus the number of abortions in the U.S. About 10 million slaves versus over 600,000 abortions per year. Far more black babies have been aborted than slaves in the U.S. Bingo. So I think it's fair to say that abortion, by the numbers, is worse than slavery. Experientially is a different conversation. and I might agree with you. Combine the numbers. We got it. Thank you for that fact check. And we got our boy Guam Tech with the $2. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. You guys coming through. Very, very, very much appreciated. Let's keep the party raging.
And has kind of made his entire career out of ankle biting me. I don't know that I'm inclined to give him the time of day.
If you tweeted him right now asking for a debate, I think he would take you up on the offer.
I know he would take.
Yeah, exactly. The question is, does he want to do that debate? But each have, yeah, and I mean that's a good thing. The notion that this would be like, oh, I hang on to every word anybody from Daily Wire says. That's a little sus. So that's good to have that like for them, but also be like, oh, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that. You don't have to love them. You just have to see that they're coming from a place where you want to or coming from a place where you understand. Context said, was that abortion number based off only the Black community? Remember seeing the abortion numbers per year a lot higher than that. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Versus, yeah, so interesting question. Unwanted vote. If you want to grab that
time
one.
of day.
If you tweeted him right now asking for a debate, I think he would take you up on the offer.
I know he would take
it. It would be really good for the conservative
space. For years, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I would do it. I don't really know what I get out of it.
Yeah, I think
if he were
content,
if he were an honest broker and he dealt in good faith, and then maybe. But I don't know if the guy's just going to be kind of devious and insulting for like a decade. I don't know, why would I elevate him?
Okay, a decade ago he was like 9, but the other thing is, like, if that's the case, then it should be very, very easy to be like, to be in that conversation and point out what he's doing. Like, see, this is why I didn't want to bring you on, because you did that. The same way Tim does with Sam Cedar, the same way PBD did with Sam Cedar, same way Tim did with Emma Vigilant. Call them out on their bullshit. Just saying, oh, you're not good enough for me. Okay, but if you really care about moving the discussion forward, and there's a lot of people listening to Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes is preventing the conversation from moving forward, who else but the top names in conservative alternative news to debate him?
Yeah, it's more so about the fact that the conservative space has shifted to the right after October 7th. Now we're willing to recognize the fact that most people now at this point believe that the Daily Wire, for example, is an Israel first organization, which is why people like that are trying to
Why would you get that impression?
Because Ben said it about he said it about himself, not about the Daily Wire.
Because more pro-Israel.
I mean, obviously Ben Shapiro is a Jew, but why else would you get that impression?
Yeah, it's because we can't get policies that are pro-America. We still can't.
We don't
get
make
our
policy at the Daily Wire. We're a media company.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So
what
we've
you're
got
saying.
me.
Yeah, in the literal sense.
You know what the fuck he meant, Michael. Come on.
I mean, what is the Daily Wire? The Daily Wire is Ben. Obviously, he was the first talent that they hired, and Ben's a Jew, and people have big problems with Ben for being a Jew. I have problems with Ben for other reasons, but people have big problems.
No. Okay, well, let me. Maybe lots of people have problems with Ben Shapiro for being a Jew. I think the majority of other people who have issues with the Israel connection with Daily Wire is because of the fact that they are that he is openly Israel before America, or at the very least, let's we are side questing this. I know he said something specifically. Ben Shapiro only like America because Israel.
Wonder if one day you will have to flee the United States?
I mean, I think that every Jew throughout world history who has a brain and knows history has always wondered if a country that is not a Jewish state is going to eternally provide them security guarantees and full citizenship. Of course. I mean, that's I think to think that that's why the existence of the state of Israel is the single greatest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States, frankly. Right? Because Israel exists, that means the United States is going to be a more welcoming place for me, because Israel is there as a backstop in case anything should go wrong.
Why won't you make Aliyah to the state of Israel?
Well, because then the American company, the Daily Wire that I work for, they wouldn't really like that. So the thing is that I have to just, kind of do these things in a way and kind of say it only when I'm in front of you. And then when I'm on my show, I just act more like it's about policy so that people don't like it. But when I come to CPAC, come on, bro. Come on. That was my Ben Shapiro impression. Look, oh my God. Oh my God. Who is the videographer and why did you do this to Ben, to UZK News? Why did you do this? Why did you do this? Why is this happening? Why am I looking at this? Who is this supposed to?
Because
what was that? All right, there you go. There you go. Because of Israel. Fuck Israel. Now, fine. If you're a Jewish person who has a lot of history and connection to Israel, I completely understand why you would feel that way about Israel. But then you have to understand why I feel the way I do about you as an individual, living in America, preaching to Americans, when that's not your main deal. Rolo said, I generally like the Daily Wire guys. Oh, we got that one. Matt Walsh is the only one I like, Bambi said. Surprised he's critical of Jews? No, I am not surprised that the only Daily Wire guy you like is critical of Jews. Dylan said, sidestepping. I get what Michael is saying, but at the same exact time, he's dodging that question like you can dodge a ball. You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball. So, on the question of were those abortion numbers only blacks? I want to post. From what I saw on the CDC, it says black abortions make up 39.5% of abortions, according to their survey. What he's asking is the 600,000. Is this 600,000 abortions of all races, or is this 600,000 abortions of black people? That's what we're asking.
With Ben because he wears the yarmulke. But then what else is the Daily Wire? The Daily Wire is Matt Walsh. He's a Catholic. The Daily Wire is Michael Knowles. I'm a Catholic. I've been there since day 2. The Daily Wire is Andrew Klavan. He's an ethnic Jew. People might have problems with that.
Candace Owens, Jeremy Boring.
Jeremy Boring's a Protestant. Look, I got plenty of problems with the Protestants, okay? People sometimes say, Michael, how can you work for the Daily Wire? How can you work for those dastardly Jews? I say, it's much worse than that. I work for the Protestants, man. It's so much worse.
Fair.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Even on the subject of Israel, which is obviously.
So again, 600,000 black abortions per year on average, or 600,000 abortions of any race per year on average.
An important topic for a lot of people. Daily Wire has total variety of opinions on the state of Israel. Obviously, Ben cares about it a lot, and Matt wants to defund like every single country on earth. I'm a little bit more practical and prudential, I think, about my views. But I don't know. I just don't really. I think this impression that the Daily Wire, I mean, it's kind of funny to call it the Israeli Wire or something like that, but it's really just because Shapiro's a Jew. And, I'm all for making jokes about Shapiro. When you look at the actual institution, I don't know, it's probably the majority of it's Catholic. I mean, certainly the majority of its hosts. Of its daily hosts are Catholic, and frankly, the majority of the employees. I don't want to tell tales out of school, but somehow, for an anti-Catholic organization, they keep hiring a ton of trad cats, and then the ones that they hire who aren't Catholic end up converting along the way. So I think.
All right. So, whoa, no, what just happened? God damn it!
I think it's really.
What happened? No, play.
To the ADL's class.
God damn it!
Probably the majority of it's Catholic. I mean, certainly.
I mean, that's pretty goddamn close. And then this is stuck. There we go. Okay. So I asked, and then it gave me per year for the world. So I meant just the U.S. and the United States. The number of abortions performed annually has varied over recent years, with different organizations applying. An estimated 1 million abortions performed in 2023, an increase from 2020. This equates to 15, and that's 16 abortions per 1,000 women. 2020 was, again, almost 1 million reported. CDC said in 2022 only 600,000. So the difference between the Guttmacher Institute and the CDC, the discrepancies. So before we go through this, I'm going to assume that the Guttmacher Institute is more accurate. I don't know why, but it stands to reason that the CDC would have a reason to downplay these numbers. I'm just speculating. I'm reading this, but I'm just speculating that's where it's going to go. So the discrepancies between the figures reported by both are primarily due to data collection methods. The Institute directly surveys abortion providers, aiming for comprehensive data, while the CDC relies on voluntary reporting from states, some of which do not report. So the 600,000 number that we get, whether it's this one or this one from 2021 or 2022, is the reported abortions of any race. But that's the reported abortions. So based on the Guttmacher Institute actually looking at the numbers, it's close to, if not 1 million, every year. And then, yeah, contact or Montefiore said that, and so we'll say according to the fuck you spell Guttmacher. Guttmacher. What percentage of yes abortions are on? Because I'm going to play. Families, but on black babies. The black babies are dying. Contact, thank you so much for hanging out, brother. You have a good one. Actually, I just realized I have a fucking job interview tomorrow. So, not going to be on too late. But guys, remember, if you are around all of the members, I could really use your help just for about 10 seconds just to pop in the voice channel so I can take a little screenshot to make this video that I'm talking about. But only if you can. So, why? I hate when they do this. Give me the... So, according to the Guttmacher Institute, 28% of abortions were on black women. This is notable considering black women comprised of 14% of the female population. And this is ages 15 to 44. This disproportionate representation underscores significant racial disparities in reproductive health, quote unquote, reproductive health outcomes, which may be influenced by factors such as systemic barriers to... And so, what was the other one? What are the other ones? Yeah, same thing. Okay, so yeah. TLDR. Lots of black babies are dying. Yeah, only 48 areas are even reported. So yeah. Bullshit. Where am I at? Oh yeah, yo! I even forgot that Brad Cooper was there. Shout out to Brad Cooper. But that's how that's going to work every single time, right? Why would you stay with a company like that unless you were part of the core? Like, if you're old enough, you're established enough. Why would you not go out on your own and make your own channel? California. Yeah, no, that ain't right. That ain't right. In the United States, non-Hispanic black women have the highest abortion rates, followed by Hispanic women, then non-Hispanic white women. This is the type of conversation that needs to be had, and that I'm trying to start with this video. Again, I would, you know what? Fuck it. Should we watch it? You want to watch it? We can either end here or we can watch it. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to watch it. And put a 2 in the chat if you're ready for the after party. Well, it's my show.
What is it, Chicago?
Hey, there we go. So in case you missed this, we were on stream for this. Again, you can see I'm coming from the bedroom. But we'll speed it up a little bit. We'll get some captions up in the band. What does a Chicago Dunkin' look like?
Look how they taking money at Dunkin' Donuts, y'all. Like, come on, man. What is this? It's crazy.
You believe this, though?
Straight bulletproof glass.
You've been outvoted, sir.
Through the whole thing, man. I mean, you can't even breathe on these people. Look how sealed this is. This is a professional seal. Like, you can't even talk to these people, Barry.
Yeah, we got to protect you got to make sure that the little baby angel Aladdins don't accidentally walk in and don't see bulletproof glass and think, are we allowed to rob this? I'm funny.
Appreciate you, man. Getting up every day and seeing something like this, bro, that do something to your mental up here. It tell you, like, this how you feed animals in a zoo, gang.
And this is another aspect of not just looking at the Black community as the Black community. It's a detriment to other Black people. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this guy, we have no reason, this guy actually in the video, we have no reason to think he's done anything wrong. Pause for your racism. Whoa, he's Black. Blah, 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 blah. Ha, 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 ha. I'm trying to make a larger point here. And we have no reason, this guy actually in the video, we have no reason to think he's done anything wrong. The fact that he has to go through this, and now there's when you see this is how they feed animals. Well, that is going to further feed into your perception of the world and how you believe the world views you. And then when you have people in your ear talking, oh, it's because we're Black. They don't trust the Black people. No. It's because some people who happen to be Black were robbing the fucking place. And so now let's call him John. John now feels like he's lesser than because of practical solutions to real problems, because of this idea of we're all in the community together. What does it say? What? Yeah, I mean, exactly. They didn't just spend all that money for nothing. They didn't spend all that money to put all that shit up for nothing. There's a reason. It looks so much better here. I would love to have. I'm getting another camera. Donate so that I can look this pretty even when I'm upstairs. Since that same is true for KFC in the Bronx. What's the BX? He never answered me either. And so again, I feel bad for the individual person who sees their community changing like that because people around them are acting up and they're not doing anything wrong. But that's the real world. That's the world that you have to live in. And if you're part of this community, well, talk to your people.
Your mental up here, it tell you, like, this how you feed animals in a zoo, gang. Like, that's pretty much what it's telling your mentality. Like, I don't trust you. You feel what I'm saying? At what point do we be like, we tired of getting treated like animals, tired of getting treated like this? Like, bro,
There you go. We getting treated like animals. Well, we, in this situation, would be the patrons of that Dunkin'. So if you personally haven't done anything wrong, then the only reason you should feel like an animal for having to shop at a place that does this means that the people around you are animals. Not because of the color of their skin, but because of the things that they're doing. So stop, to all Black people, stop, I don't even know what the word is. Stop associating yourself with this group, this very broad group of people that you don't know, that people that don't know you, they certainly don't care about you. But because you share a shade of skin, now you ride for people who are doing objectively bad things. Stupid. Make it make sense. And there's a little bit more to it. If I gave you the whole thing for free, then I'd be shooting myself. So if you would like to see the rest of the video, again, this is the thumbnail to look for, but the link is in the chat. Go check it out, guys. I think it is a very important discussion, and I really, there was someone in Discord just saying that they want to talk more about this, and I want to talk more about this because I think it's a relevant thing, and it's very difficult to get somebody who is part of the Black community, TM, to engage in this. Shout out to our boy Trey, who's always willing to get into this. But like I say in the video, I feel kind of bad tokenizing him in that way. But like, it needs to be a Black person. Otherwise, what are we really talking about? And we said this is exactly relevant to what we're talking about in the server. Food deserts aren't because they're Black or poor. It's because of the theft and violence. Bingo. Companies can't sustain it. Exactly. Black people think they're Black first and not a decent human being. And that is because of the Black community. TM. Yep. Yep. And it's sad. I don't want, I as somebody who is not white and not Black, I don't want to see white people getting flack for things that that black people are doing, and I don't want black people who are not doing those things to feel like they are part of a group that is doing these things, and they are bad because they're part of this group, or they're looked down on because they're part of the group. Stop associating yourself with the fucking group. It's that simple. No, okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it kind of is. It kind of is. It's yo black. Yo, black. Actually, I gotta find that too. Hold on. What's her name? Fuck. Tiffany Haynard. You guys know Tiffany Haynard, right? She was the Chicago mayor that was straight up just fucking the corruption to no end. To no end.
WGN Investigates has an update on dysfunction in Dalton, where local leaders
back from about a year ago when she was still in office.
Are back, and it all played out at a public meeting last night.
Y'all forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor. If y'all ain't learned that yet, the mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth. Y'all don't do no work.
Tiffany Henyard considers herself something of a crusader, but one who's clearly annoyed by questions from a rebellious group of Dalton trustees who are in a standoff with her over spending.
She's just stealing money and thinks it's totally okay.
At the end of the day, vendors are not being paid. Board approved it. The vendors are not being paid.
How about you be a good leader, bring RFPs to the forefront, so not just us, but the residents and everybody else in America know how the money is being spent.
WGN Investigates has cataloged tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars spent on trips, meals, and more by Tiffany Henyard and her allies in Dalton and on the Thornton Township Board, where she's the supervisor. Township credit card records show Henyard and other officials spent more than $67,000 on trips to Portland, Austin, Atlanta, and New York City. Many of the flights were first class. So were the accommodations. In Atlanta, Henyard and her team stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel, costing taxpayers more than $9,000. In New York, the bill came to $13,000. Henyard has refused to explain the specific purpose of the trips or why they travel in such style.
Why you asking? Because I'm black? Because I'm black? No, because you're wasting money.
But she appeared to refer to our reporting at Monday's Dalton meeting.
But everything we do for the people. But we under attack. We getting scrutinized in the media. For what? Loving on the people?
Loving on the people.
Showing them that they matter to us?
What do they know?
We going through the fires for y'all.
Henyard calls her critics grandstanders who should get in line.
And y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black.
And there it is. Y'all black. Y'all black. So because I'm black and I'm committing crimes and I'm stealing money from you, you should be okay with it. Because y'all black. Y'all black. And I'm racist. Okay. Oh, she will be. She will be. Shout out to actual justice warrior Sean Fitzgerald, who had a field day with this woman. She will be. In case you missed it.
We going through the fires for y'all.
Henyard calls her critics grandstanders who should get in line.
And y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Dalton's difficulties got worse in
That is the shout out to the Boondocks. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but that's the craziness, and there's so much of it. And so that's one conversation that I haven't really broached too far on this channel, but it's on the docket, guys. I've said it before. I will say it again. We are so much closer to the beginning of the Indian Jesus than we are to the end. If you are not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe, ring the bell. I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. I've been doing a bunch of weekend streams and things. I do got this job interview tomorrow, so things might shake up. You want to make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you ring the bell, and make sure you are in the Discord, because I might even have to switch the show to like a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday to whatever it is. I don't know. I'm at the behest of whatever. I need to make money, and so I got to do what I got to do. But as long as you're in that Discord, you will always know when and where to find me. Let's give a big shout out to all of our donations. We had Unwanted Foes saying, let's get swole. our boy Box saying nice. And Wonderful came back with another $5 make you holla, feeding the beast. We got our boy Indie Film, our boy Quamtech, and of course, our sponsor of the stream, helping me out since I took out the ads from you guys. Thank you so very, very much. If I can expect that, I'll never put a goddamn ad on another stream again, ever again. It is for an actual server position. So as you guys may or may not know, I am a dog trainer, but the clients have really slowed down, and I'm just not making enough money. I'm still trying to build this channel, but that takes time. Technically she's still mayor, but she's been ousted in some way. I don't remember. But she is she's not part of she doesn't have power anymore. So yeah, not quite a month ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was, going to a bunch of different restaurants, and I was like, because Papa Watch was like, oh, maybe this is a good time to get like a remote corporate job. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not trying to do that shit. No. I even updated my resume. I did everything right. I went to get my dog training certification. I was a great trainer. I was a great employee. And then, things just went away. So I was a little salty, and it's just easier to get into a restaurant. So I applied to a bunch of places, and one place hired me as a server's assistant, which means a busser. Now, hey, Morty, what are you doing? Hey! Are you supposed to be doing that? Yeah, I can see you, motherfucker. I got eyes in the back of my head. Be good. So I started working at this restaurant as this busser. I did a few shifts, and it's not a bad place, but it's a small place, and it's just not. It's not very lively. The restaurants I've worked in, there's been a vibe. That's why the shirt wasn't on the chair, because you climbed over that way. Anyway, but busing is bullshit. Not making a lot of money there. You only get tipped out instead of actually making tips, and you're kind of the bottom of the totem pole, which is no big deal. But again, I've been there. I've got 5, 7, something, not quite 10 years in food service, so I ain't trying to be a busser any longer than I need to. So this other restaurant called me yesterday or Monday about an interview for a serving position. So I went in today. Seemed like it was pretty good. They were just like, all right, we need to come back in tomorrow to meet the other manager. And I don't know if you guys know much about the hiring process in restaurants. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but never in the history of restaurant-dom have you gotten a second interview, not completely fucked up that interview, and not gotten hired. So I think I got a new job, but we will see. We will see. Yep. Doing what we gotta do. No shame in the game. Plus, I'm a great server, and there's the possibility that I'll end up as a bartender, in which case, if I'm making bartender money, I can get rid of the dog training all together. Bill, and all that time is either at the restaurant or with you guys until build this up, share my fucking videos, especially the short ones. Much easier to share, much easier to get people to watch them, but share the videos, do all the stuff, like the videos, comment on videos, all that good stuff, so we can blow this up. I don't have to fucking worry about any other kind of job ever again. And all I will focus on is your entertainment, your information, and everything I can do as the Indian Jesus for you guys. That is the game plan. I hope you are on board. Either way, I'm going to make it. So hop on board or get left behind. But we are here for the community. And speaking of which, we are headed now over to the after party. Make sure you guys join the Discord, guys. Again, the link pinned at the top of the chat. It is free to join the Discord. It is absolutely free. The only thing is that for members of this channel here on YouTube, we get extra, including the after party where we are headed right now. I'm actually going to join right now. That little bloop that you just heard, that's me joining the after party. I'm already in there. It's that simple. And I could definitely use, if you just have a few minutes, if you could just jump in, help me out. I want to make a little promo to play during the stream, so I'm not like, falling all over my words. Well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. But thank you so very, very much for hanging out, guys. I really, really, really do appreciate it. You guys know that I am very aware that you could be doing anything at all with your night, and yet you are here hanging out with me and the Overlord, and that means so very, very much, because we are going far, and I'm glad that you are witnessing it. So once again, guys, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. No push-ups for me tonight. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.